on my mind.
Hello and welcome to episode 53 of the award-winning combat sports podcast, The Boxing Show. With me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, I'd like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, we are finally back. It's been a little while, but I'm joined by the usual twosome of Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clarke. Guys, we've got an awful lot to catch up on. It's been a few weeks since we've done this. How are you both doing? You both well?
I feel like I got loads to have digged you out. In weeks time, I'll be able to dig you out, so I feel like it's all bottled up like this.
You're just hoping you can remember it all.
I've had to go to therapy. I punched a bag the other day, first time for years.
It's just got a picture of my head on it.
Nah, well, it wouldn't fit.
Yeah, we do have a lot to get through today. We'll probably revisit, I guess, some of the stuff that we've missed over the last few weeks in another episode. I know people have been very, been up in arms without us for the last few weeks, but we do have plenty to discuss, and there is only one way to begin this, which is of course with Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk. You were both out there in Saudi Arabia. Very, very jealous of you both making the trip over.
The best part of the trip
was me not being there.
No, maybe who knows? But,
just trying to preempt the digs as very early on.
Like I smoke shisha, right?
Okay.
Oh, I'm there like a fire. Hi. I also all of a sudden I thought I was like 6'4" and handsome. I was going hi. Like
quite like shisha.
Just a random people, and I started playing golf, haven't I? So I'm not very good, obviously. I'm shit. But then on the 18th hole, you can drive the green. So Darren Barker did it the last time he went, and Todd Grisham, who hits the ball a million miles, he's gone over it on a par 4. But I've literally I've got over the water, and I'm literally about 6 foot from the green. And that's all I've got to say, really.
There we go. Some achievement.
That was not bad for a little guy, innit? Yeah, I was asking to go for the women's tees because I was going, but because I'm so much smaller, like you have a massive advantage, you guys, like because you got more.
We're going to go to you,
Well,
Andy.
Ali Drew played with us.
Ali Drew played with you.
Yeah.
Is she any good?
No, she's worse than me.
She keep it up to practice for the next one, for the rematch. Anyway, how about you, Andy? How was Saudi? Was your
it was good.
Play any golf?
Didn't play any golf, but had a really, really good time. Really good time. The fight week stuff kind of ramped up as the week goes on, which is normal. But for this one, you kind of really felt like it needed to. Everything was in the same place as they've done before. And at the press conference, there were kind of more people. And then by the weigh-in, what was interesting was that quite a few people had travelled from the UK, and the atmosphere for the weigh-in was really, really good.
Yeah, brilliant, wasn't it?
It was tremendous. And
where did they do the weigh-in? Did they sometimes do it outside?
It was outside. It was at Boulevard City, same stage for the grand arrivals, press conference, weigh-in.
It looked like a spaceship sort of thing.
Workouts. Yeah, everything was in the same place, and they had this big purple carpet out the back where that was where the fighters would come in. So it all worked out. It all worked out really well. And speaking to a few people who'd come over on the Friday, a lot of them said, look, we weren't sure we were going to come, but it got later in the week and it kind of dawned on us how big this was. Most supporting Fury, and we just thought, let's go. Got finished work on Friday, got flights, reasonably priced, got out here. Tickets were very reasonably priced, and getting into Saudi, you just basically pay for an ESTA kind of thing, like you do for the USA. It's just like 30-40 quid. It's not some application process, because people might think it is. They might think it's a difficult place to get into, but it's not. So that was good, and that made for
the airports are quick, aren't they?
Yeah, really quick.
I mean,
it's an easy trip.
I can't remember what it was. It might have been Usyk Joshua 2. They didn't even check our passports on the way out. They literally were just like, you went over there and they were just like, right, get out.
That was it. Just took one look at you and just saw you. We don't need your sort here.
So what was nice and different in this trip, we spoke.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
because I don't know if people know, but we together every Monday. We walk to the tube almost every time we're doing the Monday show. And then anytime we're not in a fight, whether it be in the UK or anywhere else, we don't talk, do we? So like, if I'm doing BBC Fight, and if I'm doing BBC and he's doing Sky, or I'm doing DAZN and he's doing TalkSport, we don't talk. We never speak to each other. And then the last time over in Saudi, it was like to the weigh-in, wasn't it? I don't know.
Yeah,
what, we haven't talked. And you said, yeah, I know. And then he took.
But my take on that is I'm so comfortable with you, Barry.
Yeah,
you know,
it's the comfortable silence.
Yeah, it's like I see you often enough that I think we're very close friends now, and that we don't need to. we don't need to. You know,
I'm really talking to you. I thought, you know, like you never know, do you? Anyway, I was working with you the other day when I sound like a part of the Sky team now. Like,
but it was a good week. It was really enjoyable. And what I did really enjoy about it too is, you know, this is a massive fight, and it's a bucket list thing to be working on a fight like this. And I did really enjoy just looking around at times, taking it in, and just seeing a lot of people there who were also having the same experience as me and getting that opportunity, who I just really like. And just thought, you know, you're good people. You do things the right way. You're kind of like trustworthy, and you know, because all that sort of stuff. And you know, without wishing to pat ourselves on the back too much, I just thought it's kind of a bit of a win for the kind of good guys, if you like, that a lot of people who I really like and respect found themselves working on that fight.
This one aged well, mate. I can tell you that. This one aged well.
Yeah,
I think it will.
We all get caught for taking drugs. for working.
Try not to take any of that personally while I was sat at home not doing anything.
Well, that was your decision, mate, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you could have come out.
Yeah, but
it was a good chip, and I think, and the longer, like when I did Canelo Golovkin, for that for me was a wicked fight, and the first one, like, and to go there. But the longer, when I look back more now, I go, whoa, I did that, and I think this certainly is the bigger again, isn't it? It's gonna
I think so. Even the fight itself, I know we'll get into that in detail, but whilst you're in it and working on it and commentating and thinking about all these different things, I knew it was a good fight, but it was only when it was over that I thought to myself, wow, that really was a good fight.
You sort of don't think about it, do you?
No, you just have to do it.
It was a lot less romantic. I was sort of sat at home on my sofa scoring it on the Boxing News app, and like I remember in between one of the rounds just thinking like, shit, this is all happening. Like, you don't think about it, like, and then you're in it and you're like, shit, like when the fight starts, the fight is 3 minutes with a minute rest, 3 minutes with a minute's rest, and you just get into it and you're like, oh shit, like we're almost over here, and you don't allow yourself to look at any of the other intangibles.
And also because we're proper, like, we're all boxing fans, people watch this, we're all real boxing fans, all of us, and the public, so you're watching it, hoping the sport delivers. No, the sport needed the fight to happen. But then you go, well, the fight's happened. We got the world media attention now. It's transcended boxing, transcended sports. So now we need it to be a good fight. Otherwise, they just go, well, we've all tuned in and look at this now. It's tap tap hug, and then we're ruined. And worse, actually, it has a worse effect than it not happening then, doesn't it?
People talk about the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. They waited years and years for it, and then obviously when it happened, it wasn't the spectacle.
And stylistically, this fight could potentially been a stinker.
I remember talking to a few people about Froch Groves too, and they were saying that they were sitting at ringside and thinking to themselves, oh no, we've got this massive spotlight that we wanted for such a long time, and this is actually quite dull. And then Froch did what he did, and that one moment is enough, isn't it? Whereas with this, it was kind of all the way through. It was absorbing all the way through. Yeah, the momentum shifts are what make a good fight, aren't they? A fight can't be a great fight unless it twos and fro's. Yeah,
absolutely. Right, with no further ado then, let's talk about the fight itself. Oleksandr Usyk, a split decision win, Barry, over Tyson Fury to become the undisputed cruiserweight and heavyweight. Well, not the undisputed cruiserweight anymore. Yeah, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. The first one in quarter of a century. Yeah, I mean, your thoughts?
He was just outstanding. He really was. Because what I kept thinking, I said it on the broadcast when, there was a time when we did stop talking for a second, but and I sort of thought it. But like, he makes his strength is all his fights, those first 5-6 rounds, wherever it is, they're always relatively close. He's just winning them, or he's not. It doesn't matter. But he makes you bust a gut. We all know this. But I thought that if you weren't busting a gut, how can he take over? And in this fight, he got to round 6, and Fury was full of energy, having his best spell in the contest. Looked like he was taking over, and then by round 8, he takes over. And I don't think Fury was a massively exhausted. He was after round 9 because what happened in the round that takes it out of you. I mean, he still was able to do what he does so well. He just does the same thing every fight, I think. There's little adaptations to that, but his whole fight plan is that it's just a loose plan, like you should have, because then you can't have a guaranteed plan because things are going to happen. You have to adapt. But he has a loose plan how to do a fight, and he always to make you work hard. And he was pressurising Fury, but I thought Fury was relatively comfortable with that pressure. And then and I think that was justifiable because then from round 4 to 7, they were Fury rounds. And then, but he's just a special fighter. Like, he still made all that pressure tell. Though he wasn't having the effect that it should have had, but he still took over and he ran away with it. Then in the second half of the fight, from round 8 on, I gave him every round from round 8 on. So I like that's and a 10-8 round in that. So to do that against a guy who's so bigger than you, and a guy who we know can pull it out of the bag. I mean, energy wise, can pull it out of the bag. He's shown time and time again, Fury, when he looks knackered, he can pull an extra thing out. Fury's not the fittest athlete you've ever seen, but he's conditioned to his sport because he's done it all his life. So he'll spar more rounds than he will punch the bag, or he'll spar more rounds than he will go for a run because he's conditioned to his sport. So he always knows that he can always throw 20 punches, 30 punches if he has to, even when he's knackered. Muscle memory. And Usyk was just unbelievably fantastic, and like I couldn't believe how strong he was. Bear in mind, he's been hurt and wobbled in that contest, and I thought he was done for.
Those middle rounds, Fury was starting to landed a couple of right uppercuts.
Yeah, from range, and you can't defend against him. They're too far away. You think you're safe, and he goes pop through the middle, and he did a little wobble back and forth. It didn't make the noise my chair's making. It's like a chicken's on my back here, isn't it? But he was honestly, he was just brilliant, really brilliant. He's just an all-time great. I mean, we always felt that way anyway, but he cemented it. Being a good fighter, being a good fighter and a very good fighter, and being a very very good fighter and a champion, and being a champion and a great. All these things take different. You need different skills to get it. But the one skill you need is coping with the pressure. But that pressure has a different pedestal as you go up. So you cope with the pressure here, but then you fill a stadium. You cope with the pressure there, but then you go like. You're the massive favourite. You cope with that pressure, and then it's all the attention, and then you cope with that pressure, and then you're up against a guy who's a killer, and you cope with that. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But I mean, his superpower is his temperament. I think more than his skill. That's his superpower, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
It was one of the things that we all talked about, really. I mean, you look at the accolades of him as an amateur and as a professional. People will always talk about, we've spoken about this on here many a times, where people sort of poo-poo the amateurs. And yes, the amateur game and the pro game are different, but
I love poo-poo.
From bringing we're back. But when you look at European Games gold medal 2008. World Amateur Gold Medal 2011, Olympic Champion 2012. That shows that on those tournaments at that time of the year, he turned up, he was on weight, he was ready to fight, and he fought the best men in Europe, the world, and in the Olympics. And he beat them, and he turned up, and he delivered on the biggest nights.
And the key thing about winning those open amateur tournaments, so 3-rounders, is the pressure to deliver in every fight at exactly the right time is massive, because if you lose the first round of a 3-rounder, then you're bang in trouble.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to lose. But he had a spell there where he basically never did. And then he sprinkled in a little bit of WSB at the end before he turned pro. And it was just he is something else, because that fight, first 3 rounds, I thought he won them. Didn't throw bundles of punches, but he threw the better shots and more of them. But there was no need to panic if you're in Fury's corner, and you could see that he wasn't. He's doing a bit of showboating. Maybe he felt he was kind of getting a gauge on the rhythm, finding his own rhythm. And then 4, 5, 6, I think we saw something there that I've never seen in an Usyk fight before, which is that somebody started to properly get on top of him. And in the 6th round, he kind of rocked him a bit with the uppercut, hurt him to the body, and he was digging his toes in and just shoveling those fists in Fury. And at the end of that round, I thought to myself, okay, finally, this could be the bridge too far for Usyk, because Fury, as we suspected he might be able to, looked like he was going to be able to make the size count. And at that stage, I thought it's possible here that Usyk could get stopped in the second half. But I did say at the time, but with him, he's amazing at kind of stemming the tide and somehow turning it. And he's got to do it now. And this is probably the most difficult job on that score that he's ever going to have. And although Fury won the 7th, I thought he was really close. He was a close round. Yeah. He stemmed the tide, and then he turned it. And I think when Fury looks back on the fight, he will probably feel like he let him off the hook, which I think is probably not giving Usyk quite enough credit. And it'd be Tyson being a bit hard on himself. But I think it'll be hard for him to escape that feeling, because he had him where he wanted him then. But he had to just keep his foot absolutely flat to the floor, because if you don't, and risk blowing a gasket, because if you don't, he will find a way back in. And if you win 2 more rounds, say, but then you do blow a gasket and you're grimly hanging on towards the end, then I think that maybe is the only way you can do it, because the fitness levels and resilience of that bloke they're unbelievable.
It's something that we discussed, and since the kind of the origins of this fight being talked about, the best part of a couple of years. How would Fury go about this fight? Would we see Fury marching forward, kind of trying to big man Usyk like he did to Wilder in the second fight, nice tall, standing tall, or would we see him try and be a bit more fleet-footed? Now, obviously, the weight, he was 262, so he was lighter than we've seen him in the past. It looked as though, certainly in 4, 5, and 6, he found his range, Fury, and looked to keep Usyk at bay. But Barry, in the second half of the fight, with how the second half of the fight went, was that a byproduct of Fury kind of trying to hold the distance and trying to be a little bit more fleet-footed? We've not seen that version of him in a long time.
Yeah, I think so. I think again, I talked about his conditioning is his strength as well. But I think he hasn't boxed that way for a long time, so maybe he hasn't moved, been as mobile. I think that's the best Fury we've seen for a long time. By the way, maybe since Wilder 2. That's the best.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
that's the best one. And I picked him to win on the pretext that he would turn up as his very best, and I think he did, and he never won. That says all you need to know about Oleksandr Usyk. So he got the best version of Fury you could possibly get this time. Maybe not the best ever, but maybe it's not the best Usyk ever, by the way. So but I mean, that's the best. I think that's the best Fury's boxed for such a long time. I thought there was a steady decline in his performances, though once a year is hard to judge. But it seemed clear there had been, but just over a longer period, and that could be then. Lack of inactivity could play a part in that.
Lack of motivation, like the type of styles that he's boxing as well.
But either way, if he turned up, he was edgy. I thought before building up to the fight, edgy. Well, and he's confident, but there was an edge to him, which I thought was a good thing.
You need that.
He needs that more than anyone else. Walking along, he plays the part, but ultimately he couldn't get under this guy's skin. And all that don't mean nothing. Fight night means everything. All the build up is great, and you can take bits from it. But unless you see a guy petrified in the corner, which he's not going to be, because he wouldn't have got to where he is now. So, but Fury boxed really well. But Usyk, he changed the pattern. I think it had a bit to do with both. That he wasn't used to the movement, maybe, and I just think he upped the gear, or Usyk either upped the gear. If we quite often say he upped the pace, it's usually they maintain the pace. Yeah. The pace slows. He just maintained the pace, And I thought he was better when he got some rhythm to his feet. All of a sudden, he's had to get some bounce to his step, and that gives him that movement in and out, and his punches flow, and he can start jumping in with shots, with the southpaw left hand, so he's leading this way. And in judgment of the distance is fantastic. So you're beating him to the reach. You got a longer reach than him. Fury's got a massive reach. He's got a longer reach in his body. He generally got a 6'9" reach, because I don't think he's generally 6'9", but I mean. And he'd still get in there. So that's just really good timing and judgment of distance. You know what to step into the shot and step out. And he was just, it was the fight that we needed. I loved every second of it. I did.
Yeah, it was a brilliant.
I was so thankful.
It was so absorbing.
Gripping, yeah. It was the word that I kind of found myself.
It was
completely gripped
absolutely
by
that.
Just the early rounds, Andy, going to come to you. You mentioned earlier that you felt Usyk won the first 3 rounds. I had it 2-1 Usyk. I thought Fury. I thought the third. We'll come on to talk about kind of the scores, because we've seen sort of a disparity between some scorecards. Obviously a split decision as well, which was questionable. But those early rounds in particular, Usyk came out, and one of the things that I kind of was looking for early in the fight was, we spoke about this, Usyk Joshua 1, when Joshua, all this talk was that Usyk was going to run and Usyk was going to do this, and Usyk came out in the middle of the ring, landed the left hand after 11 seconds, I think it was, knocked the head back of Anthony Joshua. It looked to me like Usyk landed a good left hand at the end of the first round and then a good left hand at the start of the second round. That Fury just felt a little bit. I thought that was imperative for Usyk just to let Fury know that he could hurt him.
That's it, and I think he was doing enough, wasn't he, at that point, without being gung-ho or reckless in any way, because nobody can do that at that level. And we were talking about it during the week and what approach they would both take, and I said on one of the streams, look, both of these two guys are going to look to win this inside the distance, because that's just what they do, particularly at heavyweight. And I got a bit of backlash from that, but I just thought, well, that's how this has to be. It doesn't mean it will happen, but that has to be the intention, because Fury's not going to look to try and get on his bike and win on points, which is something he did successfully earlier in his career. And Usyk can't do that either, because he's got to show him early on that he can't just roll forward on him. So he did it exactly right, I thought, in those first couple of rounds. And again, like I said, there was no kind of like panic from Fury at any stage. It was just, all right, okay, maybe I've dropped those first couple, no big deal. The third was closer. It was just fascinating to watch, just kind of their body language throughout the whole thing as well, and the way they responded to what the other person was doing. And I thought he did win those first 3 rounds, but I could see that third you could have gone the other way. But he definitely made the better start, and then it was Fury who got himself very, very much into it in the 4th, 5th, and the 6th. As we were saying, you want things to shift one way and then the other if something's going to be a really, really gripping contest, and that's exactly what it was. We got into the corners quite a lot, and I stayed as quiet as I could when we did. Obviously, couldn't understand anything that was being said in Usyk's corner, but well, as it turned out, kind of, yeah. And that was, I'm sure we'll come on to talk about that, but that was a bit of a problem in the Fury corner, I thought. Whereas you go into Usyk's and Yuri Tkachenko is the guy who's saying everything, and he was pretty animated in 4, 5, 6. You could see he was basically saying to him, he's getting on top of you now. You've got to really, really work. It's one of those situations where that urgency was pretty obvious. I heard quite a good analogy a few weeks ago about how watching a fight or any sporting contest, a lot of the time it's like watching an arm wrestle. And if they're evenly matched, they're like locked at the top like that. And it might seem like nothing's really happening because no one's really giving any ground. But there's so much happening, because that's where you've got to stay in it and stay in it and stay in it. And Usyk was kind of just going a bit like that, wasn't he? But he was just staying in it and staying in it. It was brilliant all the way through.
Harry,
that's all up with that pressure, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
The fights might be slipping away from you all of a sudden. Like he's changed the pattern, and we have the two of the most adaptable fighters here boxing each other, and then you're slipping away, and you've got to just stay steadfast in your mind. It's not all about physicality there, especially with Usyk. He's got to try and change the pattern without being stupid and walking into a shot against a bigger guy, and that's difficult. And trust in your corner. And all of a sudden now, he has to listen to his corner more than he ever has before in such a long time, because he's always had things, even when this fight's been close, things have been working for him towards what he does, hasn't it?
The belly fight.
That pocket there, rounds 4, 5 and 6, I think we can say, can't we, safely, that never in his professional career has he lost 3 rounds in a row that comprehensively.
Certainly not that comprehensively. I mean, you can make an argument that Bellew won the first 3 rounds, but he's making, like Barry just said there, he's making him work for all that as part of the plan.
Winning some battles, but not winning the war.
Exactly.
After the second round there, he knows what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like,
but for the first time, for any of us, we looked at him, and I think everybody felt the same after 6 rounds and just thought, this could be the night where it's just too much.
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to find it from when I said it. I said after, so dominant 6th round for Fury, starting to sink them in and hurt Usyk. Yeah. Usyk, for all of his skill and experience, is looking a little out of ideas at the minute.
Yeah.
And after 6, that's kind of how.
If I'd been asked to pick a winner at that point, I'd have said Fury.
It seemed like he was all of a sudden now, because he's getting pinged and a bit hurt. He's standing in that range where you shouldn't be. Because he's thinking, because he haven't got the idea, he haven't got the right. The first time you have to think he's picking his brains and nothing's coming back. For the first time, you have to dig really deep to think, what am I going to do? Because and he can use his physical presence. That's out of the window, isn't it? He's got to use his guile, and all of a sudden he couldn't get it right. So he was standing on that range where you just ask him to get hit for a little while. Every boxer, you get in that situation in a certain fight more than once sometimes, that you end up in no man's land because you lost for answers. You don't actually think it's true. When you think back, it's all like very, it's almost subconsciously thinking, if you will. But you're in a no man's land. You just can't think, oh shit, what have I got to do? And you're not quite thinking. That's what your brain's telling you. So you end up just being nowhere, doing nothing.
It's sort of like, it looked to me like in 4, 5 and 6 where Fury had found his distance, and you see that with a fighter sometimes where they know but you don't really know, and we've not seen that happen to Oleksandr Usyk. That was one of the strange things. Like actually Fury's got his measure here and Usyk hasn't got his, and it was so, you say about kind of we all would have picked Fury to win. I think Fury was 14-1 on at the end of the 6th round in the fight.
Yeah, because he was landing with body shots from range. You think, he's going to start.
He was digging his toes in and sinking them in, and you just thought this extra 3 stone that he's got pretty much.
And he looked like he was bothering Usyk for sure, to the head and to the body.
Barry just had a bit of a swagger about him, and he was enjoying it, wasn't he? He was thinking, little man, I've got you.
Yeah, exactly that, which sort of made everything that came in the second half of the fight that much more dramatic. Barry, just want to dial it back to sort of 2-3. What adjustments did Fury make? Because Usyk had a very positive start with you. Gave him all 3 rounds. You certainly give him 2 of the first 3 rounds. Where did it change? Because you mentioned here, like we always talk about it. You talk about your mate Joe Calzaghe. I mentioned before you do, changing the flow of a fight, and a great fighter changes the flow of a fight. We saw kind of Usyk early, Fury middle, Usyk late, and it had that. Where did that? I
think his jab was the thing. I think he went from flicking it to throwing it. I think that's the big difference. And then once you went, because with the thing with just the jab, it's not just landing the jab. It gives you know where you are when you land, when you throw the jab. So even if, like, sometimes you could throw it, not to hit, not to land. You just need to know where you are. And once you know where he is, then it only gives Usyk something to work. Sometimes people like Usyk and Lomachenko, they like that. They want to work around that. But I mean, it gives he knows where he is, but also you know where he is. And once you know where he is, because he didn't throw many right hands, he didn't want to turn into the right hands for in the early rounds, Fury. But once he gets him on a bit of a solid jab, then all of a sudden he knows where he can move his feet. He knows I got a bit more space to go here, and rather than go back too much, I can start going around the sides, and then you start throwing more shots in your right hand. And once you start putting more power in the shots, because then you can't throw left hook to the body, and so you know where he is. So once you know you've hit him with a good jab, that's it. You've computed that. Then it's almost like it's like a laser measuring thing. You know, the builder shoes, like you've got your laser. I'm 1.5 meters away. And then everything from there, then you know you can throw the body shot by just taking that little step. But until you throw that, every punch you throw is blind, because you're guessing the distance, but you know it. And I think that was the difference. I think his jab was a little bit better, and then from that, your feet become better. You know where you can throw the body shot from distance and get away with it. And I just think, and that was it. And he just upped the tempo a little bit. And they weren't massive things, but just a little thing like that can make a huge difference. And I just think the confidence then, obviously, you feel like you're strong. Obviously, actually, I'm stronger. Brilliant. Because he didn't quite. He rushed to the centre of the ring in the first round, and then flicked. But that's not going to keep Usyk away, is it? You got to go. You got to make him feel something. Bam, straight away. I felt like Fury was really biting on the feints early as well, particularly after the left hands landed. Once the left hands landed, you could see Usyk was feinting him, and Fury was taking these big, over-exaggerated steps. I would tell you something though. Fury's double feint. Yeah. He's still got it, hasn't he? We haven't seen it in a while. But I tell you, so although not doing that for such, because he did it the best in the first Wilder fight. Well, the second one I thought actually as well. Remember we did it. We spoke about this in the past. We did it in the first Wilder fight, and the first time Wilder see it, Wilder almost fell over. He's like, what the fuck was that? Because you can do something like that, double feint, and like if someone haven't got no intelligence, it doesn't work. Or if you do it too fast, it doesn't work. He gets it just right. Boom, boom. He really sells it. But you know the jab's coming, but with him, you know don't know when. Yeah, so he used that really well. I think it was fantastic. But going back to he hasn't boxed like that for such a long time. That might have started taking us out there, because you got to do it in the gym all the time. I say, the ring was perfect, by the way. The sponge was perfect. It looked small, but it wasn't small. It was the proper length. Yeah. I think it was because the stadium was so big. Yeah. I remember I went in a bit early on, and I said, "Doesn't the ring look small?" And all I heard was, "The ring in bloody small, my good old." The ring in bloody small. Go and measure. I'll give you. You want to measure it? I go, no, Mike. Honest, Mike. I want to go. You stood right next to Mike Goodall and ask him how his day is, and he can't hear you. You say one thing about the ring from behind the stage, and he's straight over it. But then he was lifting up and showing me I think it's like an inch or something, inch and a half in dense foam and stuff. Yeah. And then he showed me everything. And then obviously he had the ring because they got seams in the ring, and he was going. They were complaining about the seams. Yeah, he was absolutely gutted about that, because the ring was an absolutely standard, very consistent Goodall ring, because I always go and have a little
walk around and just like dig my fingers in to see what it's like before every fight night, the tension of the ropes and all that kind of thing. And they're almost always 20 feet inside the ropes. Very rarely you might get one a bit smaller, but he was exactly what we always get from him. So that business with the seam in the ring, it was, he wasn't keen on that.
Do you think that's just gamesmanship? I mean, like,
I thought so.
Yeah,
maybe. But you could feel it. But
the irony of it is obviously Fury had done that to Vladimir Klitschko, another Ukrainian K2 fighter, when he went over to Germany.
But I was rubbing my fingers along it, like when he was saying, I was going, even my little feet wouldn't trip over that. I don't know. And even if you're fainting like that, by the way, the double feint, that's the closest you're going to get to it. But sorry, shake everything. But I mean, it was fine. That was just to be a pain in the ass. That's all that was.
But little things like that during the week, I quite like it. The fact that they made a complaint about that, and then we had some good shenanigans at the weigh-in because he was 2-3 Usyk, but Michael Buffer announced 2-3-3.
Yeah. Did you do a whole show on the weight? We did.
Well, yeah, of course we did.
We had Eddie Hearn saying, "No, I might change my mind now," and we're all like thinking,
"Yeah, of course we did." Because
I just said that just shows an intent of what he's going to do. That's what I thought. He's coming heavy. He's going to try and push.
I mean, I wasn't really involved in the weigh-in show much, but I was just kind of looking. I'm just thinking. Honestly, I did think to myself, is that a mistake? Because he just looked exactly the same as he had done before. And 12 pounds, 12 pounds is quite a lot. So I was looking at it. I was a bit sceptical about it.
I think he was the same. Because I think he weighed in a pair of jeans. And
that's.
I think he was 2-2.
Exactly,
like he always is.
And it didn't get corrected, and people were kind of thinking, well, how come it didn't get corrected? But I could see how that happened, because Michael only said it once probably, and when you're outside the sound disappears really quickly, so unless somebody from, it was the Middle Eastern Border Control who were actually in charge of that particular way in the top of the bill, unless they heard it, which they probably didn't, then it's gone. And then you've got a couple of really quick interviews where he didn't get asked about it, and so everybody just goes home, and no one's any the wiser.
Then it kicked off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And everyone's thinking about that.
And then later that night, we kind of, you see this thing on Twitter where you think, it could have been 2-2-3, and there was like a flurry of activity on our WhatsApp group, and I actually messaged Krasiuk in the end because John Denham really wanted to know who was over there doing our writing, and Alex got back to me quite quickly and just said, 2-2-3.
It was great.
Right, well, that's good
when
enough,
you watch
because
the video back,
they would have known what they expected him. They would have known what he was going to weigh before he even got on the scales.
So my cousin works he lives in Dubai. My cousin Mike Hale, his name is. Hi, Mike.
Shout out, Mike.
Yeah, he's my baby cousin. He's like massive. He's twice the size of me. But he lives in Dubai, so he works for the Middle East Commission and WBC. So he was the inspector in the court, in the dressing. He was on the stage.
Yeah, I saw your Instagram.
He was an inspector for the Fury corner. So that's a big moment for my family, actually. So I get to call the fight, and he gets to be in the corner. Nice. It's not too bad. I just want to say that. No one cares, but
we care.
We care. Good day for Cardiff, really, because Ali Drew was there as well.
Yeah, not so good for Joe Cordina, but we'll talk about that down the line. Anyway, so second half of the fight, I can't remember where we were, but we're 6 rounds in 45 minutes. So the second half of the fight, it deserves it. It's the undisputed heavyweight title. But anyway, second half of the fight, I felt like we all felt that 7 was close. I shaded it to Fury, but me also. Barry, the end of the 7th round was just a little bit of a disturbance in the force, as it were. Usyk just starting to show signs, and then of course had the big success in the 8th round where he caused the injury, and then from there on in it was seemingly one-way traffic.
Yeah, it seemed that way. All of a sudden Fury seemed flat, but I don't think he was that. He just upped the pace. We say about Usyk, I keep repeating myself, he makes you tired and he takes over, and I don't think he ups the pace. You just slow down. But this time he's in a fight where the guy hadn't slowed down, so he did up the pace. Tremendous up the pace, and once he got that bounce to his step, once he was on starting to get that rhythm to his feet, rather than just trying to walk him down a little bit more, he was much better. The punches were flowing, and Fury was struggling, really struggling, and not so much physically. I mean, he just didn't know where he was.
And it's that mental pressure as well that we've spoken about in the past with Usyk. And I guess it's more impressive this time because, as we've discussed in the past, he doesn't have the physical attributes he had at cruiserweight, which kind of allows him to not only mentally drain you, but physically he's also imposing. He didn't have that in this.
No, because he's just the constant fidgety movements, make you think, is he coming? Is he not coming? And you tense up, and you try. And all these bigger, heavy guys, they muscle bound. They drain in energy. But Fury didn't react that way. He's a loose fighter. He's not muscle bound. But he was struggling with Fury. And also that's psychological, the mental. Because you're on top now. So you're thinking, oh, I might stop this kid now. I'm going to get him. And all of a sudden, he goes boof up another level. Like Hans Eiger did against Kessler. No, but it's true. Yeah. It got to be demoralised. I've never been that way. It got to be demoralising that to happen to you. Like if I've had the lead, I've clinged on to it. I said I'm done. Like at the lower level, but like, great fighters do great things, and that was that. If you never thought he was a great fighter before, why wouldn't you? I mean, that cemented it because he just changed the pattern of a fight that he was starting to get beat up. Not beat up, but he was starting.
No, I thought he was.
He was, yeah. I mean, he looked like he was on the way out. Just while we kind of go back to the first 6 rounds, that 6th round, a lot of people suggesting that Fury maybe could have put the pressure on a bit more, put his foot on the gas. Do you agree with that? Did we see Fury we know Fury in recent times has become more of an offensive fighter, and certainly the second Wilder bout. But he's not naturally that way inclined, is he, to hurt you and go after you, does he? It's not really Fury's MO.
No, but I think he wanted the clean knockout. I do. I think he was looking for the one big... He wasn't obviously looking for the big punch, but I don't think he wanted to rush it.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I think so. So I didn't half blame him. I thought he could have been a bit busier, a little more assertive, because he did have him. Because Usyk looked a little bit lost for the first time in his life. It's got to be the first time in his life. But then so he did have an opportunity. So looking back now, yeah, he puts his foot on the gas and goes for it. What happens? Who knows? But you've got to. I mean, at this point, you got to think. I got enough to know about me that I can fiddle my way through the rest of the fight if I run out of steam after 9. Which ironically did anyway, because after that 9th round he was shattered. So yeah, but I think he thought the one clear shot was going to come. Because he was hitting him with uppercuts from miles away. And
he had every reason to think that as well.
Yeah.
Every reason to think that. It's like I said earlier, I think when he watches it back, he probably will feel like he let him off the hook. But it's a really harsh assessment of what happened, because you just always got to give credit to the other guy, haven't you? And the way that Usyk just managed to stem the tide in that 7th round. He did. I don't think he won that round, but it was a massive round for him, probably the most important round for him in the entire fight.
Yeah, you're probably right. You know that.
And he had a similar round against Anthony Joshua in the middle rounds in the first fight, where Joshua just started to show signs of getting into the fight. It might have been the 6th or the 7th round there, and he came back and he was like, okay, if AJ would have won that round. Then the momentum was with him. He won that round.
Through 6, I had it 4-2 Joshua, but a couple of people, I think Darren to my right hand side had it. Had it 3-3. Yeah. And then he built up a head of steam, Joshua, in 5 and 6. And then Usyk just shut the door on him.
And in
the rematch as well, Joshua had that big 9th round, and you could. It was either 5-4 Usyk or 4-4-1 or 5-4 AJ. You could make that score. That wouldn't have been a bad score. And he's banging it, and then he won the 10th, 11th, and 12th.
But still,
clutch fighter.
Yeah.
When the chips are down.
Still, the difference in them fights, he made Joshua work hard to win all the rounds he won. Joshua, he made him work really hard for it. So even if he did pull that other round, he got that round, but he didn't win out the bag. If he didn't, he's still. At some point, he's going to go, because he would have been exhausted, because he makes you work hard. But he couldn't do that to Fury. That was the most impressive part of it, that early round. Even if he did win the first 3, I'm not quite sure he won all 3 of them, but even if he did, they were feel-out rounds. There was nothing in them. You know what I mean? No one was over-committing. But then the 4, 5, 6...
Clear Fury rounds.
And he won the 7th as well. So you've got to start thinking, oof. Yeah, but again, the 7th, even though he didn't win it, he started just to impose his will a little bit more. And I think that's the difference, because he thought... this guy's not only tiring, he's building momentum, he's getting better here, and he's hurting me. That's the worst thing. He's hurting me, and you got to start thinking, shit.
I don't think I've seen him hurt with a headshot as a pro, Usyk.
No.
He got hit with that massive right hand by Murat Gassiev, and he kind of spun his head around, and he just carried on.
Did he get a little bit buzzed by Glavatsky once? I seem to remember
the head?
that.
I can't remember him getting hurt to the head.
Breedis
was a great fight and landed a lot of shots on him, but again, I thought we saw Usyk do the dance a couple of times.
Where
I've never seen him do that.
He was kind of judded, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The limbs kind of just have a bit of a tremor go through them.
You talk about Fury's powers of recovery, of course, obviously, and rightly so. But what about his?
Yeah,
because he looked a bit like that, and then he soon got back into business. He was just, mate. I don't think we could do a proper technical breakdown of it, because it was just in the moment. Sorry, but in the moment, I was just watching the fight in the moment. It's like, it wasn't the greatest fight of all time, because what it meant and the pressure for even working on it was pressure. It was just enthralling the way you just dipped it back and forth.
There's different types of great fights, aren't there? We all love the Gatti Wars, and we all love those type. But the for me anyway, the fights I like the most is the highest when the chips are down, all the fucking marbles.
Yeah.
And you've got something like that where it is on a knife edge throughout. Like even up to when we were waiting for the scores, I think everybody was fairly sure that Usyk would. I mean, okay, I rephrase that. I think everybody probably fairly sure that Usyk had won the fight, but there was still, was he going to get it? Was it this? And was it? So it had that jeopardy.
It just had those brilliantly fine margins all the way
because
through.
They were, and there's just the right winner. There's no argument there. And if Fury would have got it, I think we're saying you're going. I'm not saying he got massively robbed, but I'm going he's very unlucky. Yeah. But there were wrongs in there. You could have gone either way. So when someone has it like Usyk by 3 points, I don't argue with that. Or 4 points. I don't argue. I think, okay, fair enough. I didn't see that, but they were those first 3 rounds, brother. Even though it was 2 under Usyk, but they weren't convincingly 2.
And if you look at the judges' scorecards as well,
and the 12th round,
like
the 12th round, that's a big
round as well. Yeah,
like that was a very close round, which I thought Usyk won.
Yeah. I had it probably as, in my opinion, as close as you can have it in a sense about it. 114, 113 for Usyk, but I thought there was 3 close rounds, 3, 7, and 12, and I gave them all to Fury.
Yeah,
so if you give even one of them or 2 of them, which are very fair,
we talk about this quite a lot, don't we? Where it's just like you have to draw a line somewhere, and. It was a close fight, and I could find 6 rounds for Fury, but I can't find 7.
No,
that's just my opinion on it.
And that I think is what I feel.
I could try as hard as I could, and someone would say, "Well, what about this one?" I'd just say, "No, I just can't do it." Yeah.
But I thought at the same time, though, I thought Fury was fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy because my worry was, even though I picked him to win the fight, I was getting, and I don't let the build-up affect me, not you anymore. None of us do now because we've been long enough. And people get, see Usyk, you're confident, and some people sway back and forth. And I'm like, oh, come on, but unless you see a guy crumble, I said this already, haven't I? But I mean,
he's not in an undisputed heavyweight title fight if he's got that in him, is he?
I still wasn't sure that we were going to get the best Fury. I thought that might have gone, that ship might have sailed. I wasn't sure, but I stuck to my guns. You got to stick with your first assessment if it makes common sense, I feel. Otherwise, all those 24/7 shows from HBO, I wouldn't watch those 24/7 shows from HBO because they were there to make you change your mind. When you all of a sudden, Robert Guerrero's going to beat Mayweather, you know what I mean? Because you're watching that, and then you get invested in his family's background. It's just like,
but Mayweather's been at the strip club. It's his time to lose.
Not really. Or Ryan Garcia's going to get beat. And he's banging the gear, but like. Allegedly.
There we go.
Or not allegedly. He's allegedly not.
Shout out to Zone.
Oh, by the way, he's massive, Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's 143 pounds for a super lightweight. Huge.
But I wasn't sure we were going to see it, and we got the best of Fury. I think we got the best Fury we've seen. I think we got the best Fury because.
And that's what you want. Like, you don't want like the cut to open in the first couple of rounds or whatever.
That's why it was so good though, because you had these 2 ridiculously good fighters who I think really were just both at the top of their game, and it was incredibly fine margins. And arguably, Fury came out for the 7th, and maybe he probably just didn't start the 7th round quite quickly enough and try and get right back on top again. And he gave Usyk a millimetre, and he took it. Yeah, worked with it.
That's exactly what happened, wasn't it? Because he probably thought, I'm in control now.
Yeah.
So I can do what I want.
And he had every reason to think
it. A couple of times, he's going to go.
Yeah. Just all I got to do is wait myself, make a mistake, and I get that clean shot.
Yeah.
And I'll play with it. And people said, some people were saying to me back when I got home, saying, I mean, by the way, right, I played football on a Monday. I played football last night. I'm rubbish, by the way, absolute shit. But I mean, not just when I'm genuinely shit. But but I run around all the time, and I just like a little old man running around like chasing chickens. And I barely talk to the guys. They're all lovely people. I don't talk. So when we finish game, they all have a chat outside, and I just go, see ya, and I go. They all want to talk about the fight. I was everyone's best friend. Which
caught on,
makes me sad. Like, they don't want to speak to me all ever. No, because everyone. That's how big this fight was. I mean, we forget how big this. That's how big it was.
A lot of messages during the week and on the day. Who do you think and all that kind of stuff, and that's great because it's this massive thing for the sport and for the division, and people genuinely did give a shit.
And it was a great fight with a legitimate winner. I mean, like,
I've been upset by it all, though. Like, really pissed off, upset. Because I've got home and they've been saying, "No, watch the fight. It was brilliant." I go, "Where'd you watch it?" They go, "Sky." Well, fuck's sake. and I asked,
like, "Were you there, Barry?"
Where'd you watch it? TNT. I go, "Fucking hell, what the fuck?" Like,
but we haven't really talked about the 9th round.
I was going to say,
the 9th round was, watching that was absolute mayhem, because
it was vintage Fury, by the way, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he crunched him with that left hand, far side of the ring to me, and you can far side of the ring to all of us. We're all sitting on the same side,
very far.
And you can immediately see that it had really hurt him. And then Usyk went after him, and he locked on, and he's accurate. And how he stayed up as long as he did. Matt Macklin, who was sitting next to me, said at the end of the round, maybe it would have been better if he'd taken a knee before he got adjudged to have been knocked down. And he is right, but again, it's one of those things that in the moment, you're not going to do it, are you? Your instinct is stay up. And I know Alex Krasik after the fight felt like, well, calling that knockdown maybe saved Fury from getting stopped. But I felt the referee had no choice, because he could have called one just before that where he bounced off the ropes, and he wasn't in control. He wasn't, but he didn't allow himself. He didn't use the ropes. He was bounced off the ropes. And then the second time it happened, he had no choice really. So I felt like the ref had a really good night.
But I would say
I let that go as long as he could have, and then Fury. I was so interested to see how he was going to go about it in the 10th, because in that situation, you just have to give away that round if you have to, and just to get your resistance levels back up. But loads of people don't do that, and they come out swinging and they get knocked out.
But also, like, the way he was battered all the round pretty much, and the way he was stumbling, and in the last stumble, which obviously the ropes do keep him up. So by the letter of the law, he's done the right thing. But the way he stumbled in. And because the battering he took before that, any other fighter and referee would have stepped in.
So a few people have sort of said this, and like, again, like, casual fans, people don't know, like, oh, that fight should have been stopped. Where do you guys stand on that? Do you think it should or shouldn't have been?
No, absolutely not. Never even crossed my mind.
Every fight should be judged equally and fairly, whether it be a 6-rounder or the biggest fight in the history of the sport. But it shouldn't.
Yeah,
but you're not going to have that. Because bear in mind, and I always go back, and I still go back to this, it wasn't a world title fight, but when David Haye lost his undefeated record to Carl Thompson, the referee David Haye would have stopped Carl. If that wasn't Carl Thompson, the referee steps in. There were about 3 times he could have stepped in and saved Carl Thompson from a battering. That's what could have happened. Because the guy knew how tough Carl Thompson was, the referee, he gave him a bit of leeway because he knew the fighter. That's just he's earned the right for the fight because he's shown tough throughout his career, and then David Haye runs out of steam and he gets his first loss. This is the same sort of thing. It's not so much the equation, which is the big enough as it is. He knows, and we all know how good Fury is at riding through those storms. His powers of recovery, and he showed it, of course, even though he didn't win it a round after, maybe arguably, but he showed that that he can recover quick. And the occasion, who wants to stop a fight when he's on its feet? By the way, because if he stops the fight, he probably gets more criticism for stopping the fight. 100%
afterwards.
So it's one of those things. But if I was in Usyk's corner, I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be happy, not happy. I wouldn't be happy, because I'd be like, he battered him. He hit him against the ropes, and you could have called that a knockdown. You could have called that a knockdown when the ropes kept him there. Why have you done it the second time? That you could be arguing that.
Yeah, you could. Sure.
But there's no controversy in this fight. That's what I don't want to. There's no controversy. It was a break fight with a pivotal moment there that could have been stopped, but that moment, whether he wasn't stopped, but that moment still won Usyk the fight.
Yeah.
What's really interesting about boxing, but one of the things is that the referee has got this position of responsibility that most officials don't have, as in the referee is the sole arbiter and everything is at their discretion. There is no painting by numbers. Like, there is no 3 strikes and you're out. If you infringe in the same way 3 times, you take 2 points, and then the 3rd time you're out of it. There's none of that. They decide on everything, and their word is the law. And I spoke to a lot of referees last year for the book, which I haven't mentioned for a while, and their role in the knockout or the potential knockout, because they're there ostensibly to try and make sure that unnecessary knockouts don't happen, because the welfare of the fighter is their primary concern at all times, but it's not their only concern. And they were all happy to admit that in a really big fight, the scale of the occasion matters. The fact that people, even if it's not that big a fight, the fact that people are paying to watch it, and this is entertainment as well as sport, matters. The potential reward on offer, all of these things, and giving them every chance, it all matters. And there's no point pretending that it doesn't. So it does enter their thinking, and they're all happy to say it. Like as Barry said, not in an ideal world, but it'd be easy to look at it and think, no, it should be the same for everything every time. I think you've taken one too many there. I'm going to stop it. That's not the world they live in, referees.
No.
But even up to that point, before that, even though he had a solid round, before he gets knocked, arguably you probably would have been a 10-8 round anyway. Arguably, if he doesn't
go down, potentially, yeah.
I mean,
Judges very rarely do.
I don't like to. But it can, yeah. I get what you're saying, yeah.
Fury's more than in the fight. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't get battered.
He's not losing 7 rounds and then gets clipped or whatever.
No, I mean, you know, all you got to do is win another round. You could have won the fight, potentially, depending on your score in it.
And that context is really key as well. That's another thing the referees just said to me loads is that, if he's lost every round and he's taking a pasting, then you definitely stop it at that point. Like Victor Loughlin gave a real good breakdown as an example, which was, Jamie Moore, Matt Macklin, was that the reason he let it go on as long as he did was because it toed and froed, and there were points where he thought, Christ, maybe I should stop it because Jamie Moore's going to get chinned. And then Macklin did in the end. But he said there were a couple of points where I kind of half thought about it, but in retrospect, no, I was right to let it go on. But it wasn't that kind of, Fury wasn't in that. He wasn't in that space, was he? There was all to play for still. So you want to, you don't want to jump in too soon. They're all wary of that.
They're all brilliant. Even if he didn't get the stoppage, and even if you wouldn't have got the 10-8 round, because you give him such a pasting at that little section of the round, that all those heavy shots, how shocked to the system when you get your head hit back like that and a beating knackers you. So I don't think Fury had the energy then to be able to win the next few rounds because of that. He just had to think, I just got to try and get.
He just had to get through the 10th.
It's not so much a head back; just got to get my body back,
and then hopefully,
I got to get some energy to have a push in the last round.
Because there's 3 rounds left at that point, and you just think, all right, I could give away the 10th, and just get those resistance levels back up, and then all right, I've dropped 3 points in those 2 rounds, but I've still got 2 rounds left now. And that could be enough. It's going to say you win the next 2 rounds, you win the fight. And they probably, and they're right. I think they would have been right, wouldn't they?
They would have been right. Yeah, they would have been right because if he wins the 11th, I think he won the 12th on all 3 judges' cards. Fury.
Yeah.
And if he wins the 11th, then the card that he wins is obviously just
the 114, 113 against flipped. Yeah.
So he wins by split decision. I think Usyk. You mentioned earlier on, Barry. I think Usyk's reaction in the post-fight press conference was quite telling on the knockout. He was like, I don't care. He's like, I won. Yeah. He's like, yeah, maybe, but...
I love that, but he was like that with... You think in Joshua, you think you could have stopped him? You're like,
yeah, maybe, but I don't know. Like, I was already winning, so I just thought I'd win. It's just like, okay, that's good. Like, but yeah,
if he hadn't got the decision, then that would have been something they would have gone crazy about it.
But I actually expected us to maybe see this slightly differently, but I think we're all in agreement. I don't think the fight should have been stopped either. I think the scale of the event, and it's the undisputed heavyweight championship. This is one fight every 25 years. Like this is not the time.
There's a little argument there that you could have, and you could bang on about it, but it has no traction. I don't think. It won't go very far.
Imagine the explosion if he'd stopped it at that point.
Oh my god! And also it's the end of the round as well. Like all Fury has to do is beat the count, and he gets a minute.
Exactly.
And so I think the referee did a fantastic job.
Yes.
There.
Yeah, I thought he had a really good night all round. I don't think it was that hard for him. I don't think they really. There was no real dark arts going on there. I thought he had a really good night.
Easy for us to sit on a Tuesday and go, well, yeah, and all the occasion. He is in it. I can't even like follow Twitter while the fight's going on. He is there, and Fury is toppling around.
And the biggest night of his life.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think
imagine you fucked that up as a referee.
Because it was a kind of an interesting appointment because he'd done a lot of fights. He was nearly 1,000, but he hadn't done any big heavyweight fights.
And he wasn't the biggest guy himself, was he? No. Let's be honest.
My sources. He wasn't the original referee for the fight. So my sources tell me that Harvey Dock was originally the referee for the fight, but of course had
much more high-profile, bigger name ref.
But also had the Haney Garcia fight in which he attracted a lot of criticism for. so was no longer the referee, and Mark Nelson became the referee on the back of that. Allegedly.
But
anyway, yeah,
but it's good because you've got someone there who's put their time in.
It's a good ref, Mark
Refereed
Nelson.
loads and loads of fights. He's obviously highly rated and respected. He's not one for trying to catch the limelight, and he gets a really good big fight, and he does a really good job.
Yeah.
And also, the fighters played their parts because there wasn't much he had to do.
No, true.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It wasn't really. I mean, he had to break him up now and again, but it wasn't like he could be with two big guys, especially with the Fury guy, who I thought Fury would do 1-2 and jump on him. I thought Fury was going to do a lot more leaning and holding. I thought if every time Usyk got close, he would just be pushing him, leaning on top of him. Like, I thought they'd be collapsing quite often. I thought it was going to be that type of fight. I was so scared it was going to be a real messy, like, shit fight.
Yeah, Usyk trying to get close.
But you're right. Because
you just want to win.
They made it pretty easy.
You just want to win. Like my old trainer always used to say, better to win ugly than to lose pretty. Do you know what I mean? Just fucking win. And in this fight of this magnitude, for them, even though we're all thinking about the sport's health and how much it's great for the sport and for the spectator and selfishly for us, but just to win, just win. But they won the right way by not trying to entertain, trying to genuinely win, not just sneak their way through, which they're both capable of doing. By the way, they're both sly little foxes, isn't they?
No, they're very much are. Yeah, two very good operators. One of the reasons why I didn't expect either one of them to stop the other is because they know all of the tricks of the trade. If they need to hang on and need to survive, they've proven throughout their whole career they can do that. Both ride out storms in very different ways.
I loved every round of it. I gotta be honest. I loved it.
It was a fantastic.
It was just a great fight. It wasn't a great fight. It was a great fight to be at for what it meant. The worst part of it was the rapper, wasn't it, just before?
Yeah, that was a bit mystifying.
They had to move us out the ringside, right? And then we're all just stood in everyone's way. And there was no listen, if you can sit there and be back in fight, it was just all get out, and this big box.
Because that box kind of came over your table, didn't it?
Yeah. But I left my phone there, and I thinking, my phone's there. So I jumped over quick, sneaked there. I tried to take a photo.
Supporting artist Barry Jones.
So Ronaldo was there. I saw my boy last time, and I don't follow football, but I know who he is. But I said, I'll get a photo of Ronaldo, and I thought, okay. So I didn't ask him because everyone's asking. I'm not gonna ask him. So I just stood in front of him and got my camera like this, took a photo, and he went. And I loved it. He went, no. He pushed me, and then he went, no. And I thought, good for you, like. That's a proper invasion of his privacy, that, isn't it? I know he's in a public place, but you know what I mean? Like, he's come to watch a boxing, some dickhead, some old man's going, yeah, like this. I just got a picture of my face and nobody, like that. And I
a picture of a face and Ronaldo going,
no, there's no Ronaldo in it. There's no Ronaldo in it. Like, but I'm glad. It was only for my boy. When I never do things like that for myself. But it was brilliant. But look at that though. The whole what it meant. Everything. Everyone who was anyone close by was turning up. Neymar was walking around. Nobody knew who he was. Ray Donovan was there. Ray Donovan in the corner, wasn't he?
He was in the corner.
Levi Schreiber, sorry.
Ukrainian descent, isn't he? Right. A couple of kind of points around the fight to discuss. We briefly touched upon it earlier. The Tyson Fury corner attracted a lot of criticism after the fight. To be honest with you, I couldn't really focus on what was going on in between the rounds because I was so buzzing. But having watched the fight back, there was a lot of voices in the corner. Obviously, we've seen Sugar Hill was ran that corner quite well in Fury's kind of career post Wilder 2. Too many cooks for you, Barry?
I don't think it's a defining factor on him losing the fight.
Sure.
But yeah, ultimately yes, because there's a few points in that fight where you tend to think Fury don't. I've said quite often in Fury's corner, he's the worst. I said it this week. The build-up, he got to be one of the worst, not the worst guys to train, one of the hardest guys to corner because he's so adaptable when he's at his best. He doesn't know what he's going to do in the next round. Let alone you try and give him a structure towards what he has to do. He just thinks, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, and within that makes all the mistakes, but also the beauty of his brilliance can happen there because he just goes, I'm going to try this now. And if it goes right, it's beautiful. If it goes wrong, he's in trouble. And we've seen that throughout his career. Beauty and shit, pretty much. And that's him, innit? If he's not good, he's shit.
Can't think of too many meh Tyson Fury performances, can you? He's either fantastic or terrible.
Yeah. And that's because the way he is. He's adaptable, but he's also the beautiful mind of boxing, isn't he?
Yeah. You know what I mean?
But in that sort of fight, I think he needed the one voice, the structure, where whatever they're saying, just one thing. Because I think after that 9th round, you need regrouping. After the 7th round, when you go, listen, you've let him back into the fight here, mate. So you've got step on him, get that solid jab now before, because he's going to come out doing this run now thinking, yes, this is where I'm used to be. I'm back to where I am. He's comfortable here now, Usyk, isn't he? Because this is where he's taking over the second half of the fight. So you jump back, you got to try and turn the tide quick before he gets the confidence to start doing what he did, and he didn't do that.
The eighth rounds, he lands the shot.
Yeah,
that does
and then
the
the ninth round, he's all over you. So I think that's them points. And there might be people saying that, and he got good people in his corner who know stuff, but if there's too many people, and also some people are afraid to say the stuff because they don't want to upset that person who's saying stuff, and you got the other person saying stuff, and you got John Fury who's shouting a lot, and John Fury's advice, I don't know, I didn't really listen to it, I couldn't hear it properly, but John Fury's might have had the best advice, I don't know. It's irrelevant. They got to talk while the fight's on, and let the main guy in the corner decide. He's getting paid not just to train you. He's getting paid more for the corner in a fight like this.
Yeah,
because especially now with all these guys who do the physical, the train, what they call
S&C.
Thank you very much. S&C. I still don't know what S&C stands for. I do. I'm joking. But like on that, and people do. There's a job for everyone in it. Dietitian and all this shit. The trainers really just got to focus on tactics and technical stuff. So like. And that's the corner work where he's most important. So you guys discuss everything in the 3 minutes, and then he has to siphon out what he has to tell that fighter. And
I think the on the night
condense
stuff.
It.
Yeah, exactly. I think the on the night role for someone like Fury that's really big, isn't it? Because I'm not saying he can train himself in the gym. That doesn't work. But he knows boxing so well that on the night, in those pockets where he really needs you, because it's he's up against it. That's kind of key. And I agree with Barry. I don't think it was like a defining factor, but we tried to get into that corner as much as we could, and then just be quiet and let everybody listen. And it was hard to work out what was going on, because a couple of times we come out the corner, and I think I said I couldn't really hear that properly. I think they might have said. I would seem to get a bit of a vibe that they felt like he was ahead when we didn't. And then with 2 rounds to go, I definitely did hear the 2 rounds away from undisputed, and I thought, but what do they mean? Do they mean you need to win these 2 rounds and you're undisputed, or just survive? And I thought if they meant you need to survive, then that's not what I'm seeing. But the fact that you couldn't really work out what they were talking about, that right there is the problem, because there was too many people talking at once. It did kind of sound like Sugar Hill, maybe after 7 or 8 when we went in, which I think we did. He was telling him he's got to be more aggressive, and John might have been saying you need to keep it a bit longer. But either way, like I've never ever heard a fighter say, you know what I like in between rounds is as much information from as many people as possible, and then I'll assimilate it and pick and choose. I've never heard anyone say that.
You've got 2 coaches, you've got no coach.
No, the thing is, you've got 2 coaches. If you've got 2 coaches and you totally different things.
Yeah.
What the fuck is use of that? You shut up, innit? Let me just do my own thing. I was lucky because as an amateur, my trainer was useless. I mean, we had some good trainers come and go to the gym, but the main trainer was rubbish, absolutely useless. So I learned to think on my feet. But also, I didn't learn. No one was helping me manage a fight properly. So I thought I could manage a fight properly, but was I? Imagine people giving you the proper advice. So then, as a professional, I didn't really really listen in the corner. Which wasn't a bad thing, but I mean, it might have been the difference of me being more aggressive at times, or when I almost hurt somebody, never happened. But but I mean, you just know you need it, I think, and to have someone say, "Oh, just keep it long. One guy you got to go forward. One side, you keep moving." In
a fight of that magnitude as well. Yeah. And Fury
I'm not saying who's right or wrong.
Fury knows these onions. He'll be sitting there thinking this ain't ideal.
But you know your onions. But sometime in a fight, you might be the most technically brilliant and a really good boxing brain and all that stuff, but we all get lost.
Yeah, sure. I mean, from a point of view of like him being sat in the corner and hearing this from here and here from there, he knows enough to know that, oh God, this is not what I want. After the 8th round, when his nose goes before he gets hurt, he's thinking.
But before that, 4, 5, and 6, you literally, I'm like, what? This is me. This ain't back to where I am now. Fucking, I'm gonna stop this kid. And then the 7th, you're okay, but it was close. And at the end, you go, oh, that was a bit different.
And then you get your hooter broken in the 8th.
Yeah, no, but even before that, the 7th, the interventions in the 7th. See, that after 7th, I can quite clearly. Before all that bad stuff happens, he's going, oh, hang on, that one. There's a difference here.
It's just that flicker of light, isn't it? At the end of the 7th round, someone used to say to him, "Look, don't."
And you're in it. You can't always see because you're in it. You know what I mean? Especially when everything's going your way. He was enjoying himself, wasn't he? And then and then someone goes, "Listen, Tyson." this is exactly what you have to do. And again, you talk about that trust and that bond, and he might have that trust. I don't know with a bond, but if it's not the right, if you can hear it because everyone's telling you something different, or even everyone's telling you the same. Sometimes there's all too many voices. Like when we all talk.
Yeah, and I think some of it. You'll be able to answer this, but I feel like if you're sat there in the eye of that storm and you've had your head bounced around like you did in the 9th, so let's say the end of the 10th with the 2 rounds to go, when we definitely did get into the corner, like even the kind of pitch and the tone of it, the noise, which is what a voice is essentially, is probably quite important. And Sugar Hill is quite a kind of urgent guy with his advice, isn't
Very
he?
direct.
Like borderline aggressive. It's not because he isn't calm, it's just that's how he delivers it.
Shoes used to be similar,
and then with a couple of rounds to go, like in that corner, it was pretty full on when you heard it. And then Andy's there as well, Andy Lee, and he had the look of a man to me who was really. It was like there was something he really wanted to say, but he just thought, it's not going to help if I get involved as well now, but it might actually have been the best thing if he had. See, but it was just, But
it might be.
But how does that a thing? Just to kind of like cut through that fog, maybe people just need to try and take it down a notch. I don't know. I've never been in there.
I don't think he's never needed an Andrew Dundee or a Teddy Atlas to give you a Teddy Atlas. We're fighting and all that stuff, which is great for some fighters.
You believe in magic.
Yeah.
So, by the way, sorry, who liked the undercard fight between Teddy Atlas and Addy Oladipo? Addy trying to get Teddy to shut the fuck up.
I did see
Teddy,
that.
The fighters want to come out now. Teddy, it's in the second round now.
we were all stood up ringside. We went to do a piece in the end. He just went to Todd and then Dad, and I just stood there like that. But what I mean, like some fighters need that all the time, others don't. I don't think he needs that, but he just needs one voice, and it might just be whispers. You know what you're doing, but just remember this, remember that.
Yeah, this is it now. Man.
But I do think those last 2 rounds he needs something. Ironically, I don't think he might need his dad to go. No,
listen, son, we gotta go out there. We gotta win these rounds.
So sometimes because it gets emotional, and you got like I remember my old man going cause Leonard and Hagler. I used to watch that fight all the time as a kid on VHS, and Anthony Dundee said, "You only got 6. Get up, champ. You only got 6 minutes. Get up, champ." And my dad did that to me. Get up, champ. I cried when I was talking about this. Get up, champ. You only got 6 minutes, and like. That tap and saying that just brings back all that magic of when you were a kid. It just brings you go, oh yes, and you got 6 minutes.
But with the kind of,
but he might have needed that.
Yeah.
But again,
also the point is he's never been hurt like that before either in a fight. Like if you look back at the Wilder fight, he got nailed and he got up. He was all right when he got up on his feet and he finished the fight in the ascendancy and what have you. Never seen him hurt like that. And in a fight of that magnitude, to be hurt like that and be at the end of the corner.
That fog.
He's hurt knackered. He's hurt knackered. That's the combination.
Properly hurt as well by the headshot. Like
that's what I kind of meant
the other
about
knockdowns.
like the pitch and the tone of it. How do you best cut through that? You know, when someone's in that place where like all that space around their head feels like.
You think about it compared to like Adam Booth, when Adam Booth used to get like hay in the corner or Groves in the corner.
Yeah.
And hey, so what hit me?
I mean, I wouldn't imagine I would get the chance to ask him, or he'd be remotely bothered, interested in answering it. But I would love to know. I would love to ask him at the end of the 10th, when you're being told 2 rounds to undisputed, what did you think that meant? Yeah. Did you think that meant you had to win them, or did you think that meant that you had to just stay on your feet?
He said after the fight, I didn't know. I thought we were winning, and if they told me I was losing, I would have gone out and tried to knock them out. And so it's very, I mean, as we all know, things are lost in translation from the post-fight interview in the ring to the post-fight press conference to what happens on social media 2 weeks later. It'd be all entirely incongruous.
Exactly. Either way, sorry, it's a close enough fight anyway to not think you can just do enough.
You got. I mean, this is the one, isn't it? It's like when you see Usain Bolt slow down before the 100 meter, like the end of the thing. Yeah. But when he wants the world record, he's running through it. You know,
and no one in Fury's corner thinks he's winning well enough. Even if they might have thought he was winning, but they don't think he's winning well enough to think.
Just survive.
Yeah, we can afford to maybe drop. You know, I thought I wasn't really listening properly. I couldn't hear the corner great, but I thought you said 2 more rounds and you're undisputed. Oh, they did. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
But I thought, I in my mind, it was like you got to win the next 2 rounds. He never said that, did he? But that's what I.
Yeah, but that could have been like, if you were closer to it, it might have been obvious that that's what he meant. But I was straining. Like,
no, you got to say it. I think you have to be very. You got to be very precise. If you win these 2, you need these 2 rounds, and you won the fight, which I think would have been the case.
All right, moving on. Obviously, staying with Fury and Usyk. 2-part question. Andy, going to come to you first. One is a very easy answer, I think, and the second one may be slightly more tricky. 1, do you want to see a rematch? 2, do you think we see the rematch?
I definitely do want to see a rematch. Me and you differ on this, but I think we will. Let's just kind of park any rumours we may have heard or borderline plans we may have heard.
This is boxing, mate.
About the rematch not happening, and it was actually never going to, and it was always going to be Joshua next if Fury won or lost. Let's just kind of take things as they've been presented. I feel like Fury will want the rematch because he will want to try and right that wrong. I think in the weeks that as the weeks progress, he will become more convinced that he won, and those are the noises we will hear from him. He was philosophical at the end, and we've spoken often, haven't we, about how the most honest reaction is the quickest one. I went to the press conference and he was, look, I thought I won. I thought I did enough. One judge agreed, the other 2 didn't. That's the game we're in. It was a very close fight. I'm not crying about it. Usyk's a very good fighter. You can't really ask for any more than that. I feel like he will change his tune as the weeks progress, and I think that
everybody does that.
Everybody does, because
science.
You have to sell the defeat to yourself. And I think he'll watch it back. It might take him a while, but he'll watch it back and he'll feel like, as we said, I had him where I wanted him. And in his head, it won't be, he just got himself back into it because he's so amazing. In his head, because that doesn't work. No. In his head, it'll be, I let him off the hook. I had him where I wanted him. I could have finished him. I let him off the hook. I'm going to take him back to that place. And next time, I'm going to put him away. That's what I think he'll think.
Faster.
That's what I think he'll think.
Yeah. I think you're right. And I think he is sort of right. You have to look at it that way. I let him off the hook. You have to always think that, especially when you're in charge of the pace, and like he was, you have to think it was down to you. Even if he ups it, you got it, like, because you're controlling the fight. Even if you try to change the pattern, because you're controlling it, you should keep a control of it. The onus is on you. So maybe that's true. I think he'd be happy the way he performed up until, except he didn't win the fight, because he hadn't performed like that for a while, and he must have felt good, and he must have trained properly for it, which of course you should. So there's a winning route in that fight for him. So I think he'll want the rematch for that alone. I think he'll want it. I think we'll see it. I think if he wants it, we get it. I'm pretty much sure. So I think we do see it, because he'll think I can win it, and he is capable of winning it. You believe that. And people say, Usyk will be better next time, and he might be better.
So will Fury. They're both the types of fighters who can take that, can't they?
Yeah.
And you've seen Fury in rematches.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He dwells in him, doesn't he? But I mean, I think it's still a winnable fight for him. I mean, I'll make Usyk the favourite this time, and then he'll definitely win then. Fury.
But you look at that position that he got himself into, and let's after 6 rounds, because things started to change a little bit in the 7th. Let's just say after 6, let's say he's 4-2 up, because a lot of people did give him that 3rd round. He's 4-2 up. And certainly he would have thought he was 4-2 up. I think he probably thinks he was 5-1 up.
Yeah.
But let's get inside Fury's head in that case, because that's the only head that matters when it comes to taking a rematch. Let's say he thinks at halfway he was 5-1 up and as in control at that stage as we all agree he was, whatever our score was. He'll look at that and then just think, how the fuck did I then lose the fight from there? Yeah. I threw this away. That's what he'll think. I'm absolutely sure of it. And that's a difficult thing to live with. And that's why I think he will want to do it again.
But also because he'll think, I think you're right. It's difficult to think, how did I throw that away? But then he'll go, the fact that he'll think I did throw it away. He'll just think I fucked up.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So I can right that wrong. It was not if I need to right that wrong, and I actually can genuinely right that wrong. I just got to be smarter for 2 more rounds.
Yeah,
that's all. Imagine that. Just think all I got to do is be a little bit better for 2 more rounds. Don't make any mistakes for 2 more rounds. So don't put my hands behind my back. All the things, but I think he has to do that because that gives him his rhythm.
Yeah, and I saw somebody say something about if Fury didn't showboat, he didn't lose the fight because he was playing to the crowd a little bit.
If you say that, you probably haven't seen Fury enough, because I think he needs to be that way. He's an essential character in the ring. He needs to do that. But
you don't think that he will take it, do you?
I don't. Yeah, no, I'm not sure that we do see the rematch, and I'm not necessarily.
It's not so much with you. It's not so much. I'll allow you to explain yourself, but it's not so much that you think that. Oh, I don't want it. I don't want to fight him again. It's just that there will be other options.
And I agree with everything that you've both said. I think Fury will believe that he should have won the fight, and not just by the scorecards, but the fact that he was in control. I think the competitive nature of him, because he is a fighting man. He very much is. He's proven that. He won't want somebody who's beaten him to have that over him. He'll want to get that back. But I think they're going to try and make the Joshua fight. And I think that when the dust has settled a little bit in a few weeks, I don't see, we all kind of expect the IBF to strip Oleksandr Usyk. You can make your own comments on whether or not you agree with that or not.
It doesn't matter now. We've had the fight.
No, but if you're Fury, then the rematch wouldn't be for undisputed. You can make more money for boxing Anthony Joshua, and if you lose to Oleksandr Usyk, the Anthony Joshua fight may never rear its head again.
Now is the time.
And if you're getting offered, look, you can do the Usyk fight, or you could do the Joshua fight. Which one do you want to take? And again, it's nothing like. It's certainly nothing against Fury, and Fury will believe that he can win. And I certainly wouldn't rule him out winning a rematch if they fought again. Absolutely not. Yeah. But I just think that Fury now at 35, that was a hard fight. That was a hard fight. Okay, it was
another hard fight.
Yeah. Joshua, okay, yeah, Joshua's last few fights, he's looked fantastic, but
stylistically, but it's just a good fit.
Yeah, but
for Fury.
I mean, they talk about Joshua against Filip Hrgović. That's a fucking dangerous fight. Yeah. That's a really dangerous fight. Okay, if Joshua gets knocked out by Filip Hrgović, I'd make him a very marginal favourite in that fight against Filip Hrgović. But if he gets knocked out by Filip Hrgović and Oleksandr Usyk goes and beats Fury again, maybe stops Fury, where's Joshua Fury then? Where is it?
I mean, a lot of it will depend on the people who are backing all of this, won't it? On the Saudis.
Think I just wonder whether. Fury.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, because you look at it and you just think, okay, well, if they kind of already released the date for the rematch, October 12th, 13th, that weekend, and when they decide that something's going to happen, that's pretty much it. But also, you look at the experiences they've had with this already. That Fury and Gardner were supposed to tee up Fury Usyk on December the 23rd, and then something that they didn't think would happened. And then Knockout 17th. Chaos on December the 23rd was supposed to tee up Joshua Wilder, and look what happened there. So,
and we're supposed to get Fury Usyk on Feb 17th.
Yeah, exactly. You feel like they may well look at all of that and just think, okay, this plan making,
you have to be fluid.
This plan making thing in boxing. Let's not, and
particularly the heavyweight division as well. Like, I mean, again, like they've talked about a date, October the 12th. I mean, it would be a.
That's a pretty quick turnaround. That's such a hard fight.
For a fight of that magnitude, a hard fight. I mean, both guys have been in camp for 8 months. So what are they going to do? Take 4 weeks out and go straight back into camp? It doesn't seem like.
I tell you, I can't believe that cut never opened up.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. It's crazy, isn't it? Like, and we didn't talk about it before the fight. We didn't talk about it. And I thought we should have talked about that because nobody could that the scar tissue and you could see it. And I was thinking, that's gonna go.
It was the only discussion I had with it was with a mate of mine beforehand, and he'd said, like, I just hope the cut doesn't go earlier. And I was like, yeah, it'll be all right. And then, like, you're so excited about the fight, like, I don't hear any negativity, no head clash, just fuck off.
That's why that's why everything about it was so beautiful, because like there was so many things that could have fucked it up. You know what I mean? Like the cut with imagine that, or the just stylistically, it had potential to be a real stinker. I thought more than be a good fight. Just everything just went right, didn't it? For just a.
So if they were going to do Fury Joshua next, when do you think that would be? End of the year?
I have no idea, and this is not based on.
But there's no way it's going to be that rumoured September Wembley date where Joshua's going to fight the winner of Dubois or Hrgović. That's way too soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean for Fury, definitely.
I tell you what, though. I tell you what.
Again, such a hard fight.
Do you think they would risk letting Joshua do that anyway?
Potentially,
October.
There's a September date for Wembley.
Well, if he gets, just say, and hope it happens that, and this is too bad. It's not fair. Okay, anyway, if you're a British fan, he gets Hrgović and he wipes him out early, quite quickly in December.
Yeah.
What we've shown now with all this money floating around is that all this I need 12-week training camps is full of shit. You don't need that. No boxer needs that. You don't. If you live the right life as a professional, you don't need 12 weeks to get ready for anything, especially when you have to make weight. So they can, and I know that's more than 12 weeks. I mean, you can still go on holiday and still get ready for a fight in December. Why shouldn't you box like that? Joe Parker's made a mockery of all these long training camps. He's boxing every week, isn't he?
So if AJ as well, he boxed April, he boxed
exactly.
September
he had
and
4
December.
fights in a 12-month reason. So I mean that could happen. Have it in December. No, I think.
I just feel like with where they are at the minute, I feel like if you're going to make Joshua versus Fury, you're running out of time now, and that, like, you're really running out of time, and that is the fight. Like, when you're talking about Canelo, Crawford, and all of these other fights, by all accounts, that's the fight. That's the fight that is the jewel of the crown. Is Joshua versus Fury. Ideally, it would have been for undisputed. It's not going to be.
You'd be hopeful that they would allow that to be here. Or they would put that on here.
One would hope so. You're considering that things going in LA. Crawford's going in LA. They're doing the rumoured Wembley date. So you would hope so. And there's talk about doing shows in Japan and doing here and there. So I mean, this is all changing so much. I mean, if you think about the last 12 months ago,
Germany's been mentioned as well, I think.
Doing shows there. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me wherever it kind of went. You would hope so. You'd hope it would go to Wembley. And look, it's sort of my kind of interpretation of things and a few conversations.
Either way, but whatever we get, winning. It's not a bad.
No, exactly, for sure. Like Fury Usyk 2 or Usyk Fury 2, as it would be known, I'd be bang up for that. Yeah. Like I'd be more up for watching that respect than Fury Joshua. You haven't said that. It's a different type of fight, isn't it? It will take over the country in a different way than Fury Usyk.
I know. So one's coming off a win, and one's coming off the best form we've seen him for so many years.
Yeah, exactly.
So it makes it all of a sudden that makes that a different fight. If Fury batters Usyk, and then boxes Joshua next. Even though Joshua is on a good run of form,
you got a big favourite there.
You can see you still make Fury the favourite, wouldn't you? But you start thinking, I don't know. Look at the way Joshua went through the guy who he struggled against.
Do we make Fury a favourite in that fight now?
Against
Still, Joshua Fury.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, but Joshua have shown mentally. I think it's all these fights. I think Joshua's had a real He's improved every fight, and even though he boxed a novice in his last one, it wasn't about that. It was about how he conducted himself, and the way he threw that right hand will just give him so much confidence in becoming a bully again in the ring, and that's what he needs to be. You got all these attributes: big, strong, powerful guy who can hurt you, but not afraid to get hit, and that's what he was. Not afraid, tentative to get hit. I don't want to say afraid. He wasn't afraid of
wary, wasn't he?
Yeah, wary. That's a better word. But now he knows when I'm more assertive, that's what happens. Like it used to happen. You need to do it again to prove it, and he's got it now. So I think we see a better Joshua from there on in. And he might get knocked out by somebody. He might get things, but he could be totally outschooled. He could be totally schooled by Fury. That's the worry, and that's probably what might happen. But either way, he has more of a chance now than he's had since June 2019.
Yeah,
that's the truth of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it makes it ironically, it might make it a better fight than it would have been, because one's coming up and I don't think Fury is coming on. Fury boxed great.
Yeah, he did. It was fantastic.
He just became against a great fighter who boxed a little bit better. Isn't it?
What I wouldn't like is let's say Fury boxes Usyk again in a rematch and loses again
more conclusively.
Yeah, and then he takes 18 months out. And then he comes back and they do Joshua versus Fury. At the time, even if it's got like an IBF title on the line or whatever, it doesn't matter. Fury's won all the belts in various different forms. Joshua's 2-time unified champion anyway. Yeah. The fight happens, let's say, May of 2026, and Fury hasn't boxed in 18 months. And Joshua is, he went 1-on-1 with Filip Hrgovic or something. It's
well, it becomes a diluted version of Pacquiao Mayweather.
Exactly, but so then what's the difference doing it then than doing it sort of back end of this year or start of next year?
No, I mean, you saw me.
What do you think Usyk? Well, I mean, is he then thinking, well, all right, I'll just take an extended break, because at heavyweight he's actually only ever boxed once a year.
Yeah.
So I'll just chill out and fight the winner.
This was sort of the next.
Is that what he would do?
This is sort of the next thing for
take
us
that
to discuss.
Step aside,
really,
which will be a nice.
I would love to see Oleksandr Usyk retire. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
I would love to see Oleksandr Usyk retire.
What a way to go!
It's just the money, innit? It's like,
but I mean, how much money do you need? Like, he was in the sweet spot for the cruiserweights, where he got paid a shitload of money for the World Boxing Super Series. Then he's made heavyweight money. He's made 2 Anthony Joshua paydays, one of which is a Saudi Anthony Joshua payday. Yeah, and he's got another one against Tyson Fury.
Even though they're Anthony Joshua paydays, he's not getting Anthony Joshua money, is he? He's still getting a lot.
I think he made $35 million for the second fight.
Yeah, which is making money, but I've never been there. By the way,
it's long since not been about
he's
that.
Like $35 million.
But it's not about that. It's just kind of like, how does he feel?
Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
We say about every fighter, like, you earn all your money at the back end of your career. Ironically, when it's the worst part to earn it, because you've pretty much, by the time you get to that level, So you're almost your best years behind you.
Yeah.
So like, and then you keep dragging on forever. I saw the Macklin about this pretty much over in Saudi, and so like some of the fights he took, we had to like Golovkin fight, and he didn't really have the notice he wanted, and he does make excuses. I don't know Matt very well, but he don't look like the guy, and he doesn't make excuses for anything. But like, you know, you've got to take that money at the end. I mean, you've got to take. You need because forget what you're worth. Now for Usyk, you get 35 million, but he's going to be off 50 million. How can you turn 50 million down? You can't, can you? You know, you'd be wheeling yourself out in a wheelchair. You'd be like this. I'll be
if he's still
90 years of age, I'll get out
if
there.
he's still just got, you know, enough hunger for it, then.
And it changes.
I mean, so I spoke to him.
Because you start talking about generational wealth, then you said, "Oh, that's stupid talk, didn't you?" But either way,
you imagine he probably made 100 million for this fight.
But I'm happy. I'd want him to retire.
Yeah, and I'm aware of like, we again can sit here on a Tuesday and say, oh yeah, he should. But we're obviously all aware of all
probably be the best boxing career of all time, wouldn't it? You could argue. It's certainly of the modern era because he's won the Olympic gold medal and then he's done what he's done in 22 fights.
Yeah. I mean, you start getting into kind of. I mean, this is kind of.
He's robbed boxing.
We'll park that discussion on Usyk just for a minute, and while we kind of talk about sort of what he does next, really. And I spoke to him a couple of weeks before the fight, and I did an interview, and he was in his fucking. I don't know, this like small room that he'd been living in for 8 months or whatever. And I said to him, like, so I used the box. I said to him, like, you know, what's next for you? Because he'd spoken about after he beat Joshua, I want Fury, then I want Wilder, then I want Canelo.
He's never mentioned retirement, Usyk, has he? Not that I've heard.
No, he's never mentioned retirement, but he did say 3 more fights. Those ones and then blah, blah, blah. And this is a while ago. And I said to him, like, you know, you mentioned that in the past and Wilder, like, well, what's it now? And he's like, oh, no, I'll keep boxing for 10 years. He's like, I want to move back down to cruiserweight and become undisputed champion at cruiserweight. And I was thinking, like, because you never really know with any fighter, but particularly like Usyk is very, like, he has got that zany sort of like thing about him where you don't know what he's saying or whether he's serious or not. It's difficult to pick up. He's all in English and very good English, by the way, but still difficult to kind of read him. But I don't know, man, like, where can it get better? What can you do now to enhance any legacies? 37, 36, 37?
Yeah.
What else is there to do? Like, there's nothing else to do. And he is, like, we all know, you know, this is not an Usyk loving by any stretch of the imagination. It was a fantastic fight. It takes 2 to tango, and Fury has been fantastic his whole career, but particularly kind of post-Vlad, what he's done to open the can of worms. Oh, sorry, Lennox.
Forgot about you then.
Open up the can of worms that has been the heavyweight division has come all off the back of that brilliant night against Vladimir Klitschko. But Oleksandr Usyk to be European, world, Olympic, undisputed cruiserweight, undisputed heavyweight, forget your pound for pound list. This man's the best fighter in the world. Regardless of what, like Naoya Inoue and Terence Crawford are all-time great fighters. This guy's the motherfucking man. He's the best fighter in the world. Where do you go? What adds anything to it? And by the way, also a tremendous representative of the sport. We all love to slag boxing off, and this is not a dig at Joshua or Fury or anybody like that, but this is a man who has fought whoever, whenever, wherever, and done it all in 22 fights.
No,
what can he do?
You can't argue with that.
What can he do after this fight that makes us think any higher of him or enhances his legacy anymore?
But I think that's the point. It's like, you know, for him, it won't be about, if he continues, it won't be about making us think any higher of him. He's thinking about himself.
Sure, yeah, I get that. But even from himself, like, what does he think to? Yeah, the money
side
of it is.
He did it all in 22 fights.
I know.
It's unbelievable. I had this conversation with somebody. I had this conversation with a very reputable boxing trainer who will remain nameless. Well, after the fight, where I said he's the best fighter of this era now. How can he not be? And Lomachenko's name was mentioned. If you look at like the difference between Usyk and Lomachenko, obviously, I mean, you're splitting hairs here. Like, it's always the thing when you're talking about pound for pound level fights. Like, what, you only think Terence Crawford is the second best fighter in the whole world? Do you? You think, like, you know, it's still quite a high level with that. But you compare him to Lomachenko. Lomachenko's 21 fights. He's 18-3. He's never unified a division except lightweight, never unified featherweight, never unified super featherweight. Big, massive part of that is people don't want to fight him, so you have to. That's all relevant. Yeah. But to compare Usyk, you can stack him up against any fighter of this generation and arguably any other generation, and he stands up. Like, his accolades and his achievements, the way he's done it.
What he's done. And also, like you talk about, like desire and ambitions. Well, like you won't get a better win than that for him.
That's it.
To win the dispute, the way he had the rally back for the first time, probably the first time in his career, where he had a real crisis of confidence in the ring, and he's had to show a different side to his game that he hadn't shown before. He's had little hurdles to overcome in fights. That was probably the biggest one.
Yeah, he's had close fights like Bradis and Benny to a point was close, but there was never the jeopardy. And it was never
Bradis was genuinely, you needed to win that final round, or he wouldn't have won. I think we probably would have had a majority draw if he hadn't. I can't remember exactly, but if he hadn't won the final round, then
Do you know what? They both turned up. And they both, and this thankful for that, because it very rarely happens in a big fight where they both turn up, especially for the heavyweight division. Someone always lets us down, no fault of their own at times, and also because they're big guys, they can get knocked out in a round.
Over like that,
But they both turned up at the best they could be at this stage of their career, and they give us a spectacle. It was a really good fight, and for us, the guys who worked on it, a good week. Everyone played their part. It was just a fantastic promotion throughout. Everything was just perfect. You couldn't have had a better build-up and a better result, a better showing for the unified undisputed championship of the world. That's all, and that's all that mattered. For me, I didn't care who won.
No, same.
Truthfully, that's all that mattered, because I love my sport more than I love fighters, and it gave us what we wanted, what we need. And if boxing's not a healthy position after that, then it'll never be.
Yeah. Exactly. Here.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's it. I walked out of that arena on Saturday just on a massive high, because I just thought, wow, that was I fucking love this.
And the amount of times we turn up here on a Monday.
Yeah, he was really close, and it was all the rest of it. But we, the decision went the right way, so we're not like now mired in controversy, and we can all just celebrate what an absolutely mega fight that was between two ludicrously good fighters who showed everything that you could possibly need anyone to show. And then I walked into the press conference and listened to Fury and just thought, brilliant. It's just kind of like, it's the game I'm in. Like he said it to me during the week, at the start of the week. He said, look, fight like this, he's not afraid, I'm not afraid. And when you've got two men who aren't afraid, then you're in for a good night. And he proved to be exactly right.
He is great with stuff like that, isn't he, Fury? He's sort of like, at times, a bad winner, but not obviously it's the first time he's lost. But I remember going back to the first Wilder fight, where I think we all thought he got jobbed there. Yeah, of course he did. And I remember after the fight, Ben Davison said in the press conference, where people were sort of, like some of the Americans were like, yeah, but he knocked you down twice, and that means, and they're talking shit. And Fury was very like putting it away, and Ben Davison sort of interrupted and said, whoa, can we just sort of retract this a little bit? Everyone was getting a bit too. He's like, Tyson's taken this draw on the chin. He's like, there's 5,000 Tyson Fury fans out there. If he would have turned around and said this is a disgrace, they would have tore this place to ruins. He's like, he's in here and he's graciously blah blah blah, and then Fury just like get up and sing an American Pie, and then after that it was
bear in mind they robbed him not only of the win of the world title, of one of the
greatest sporting
comeback wins.
Because, for sure.
He had two fights before that.
Seferi
and
Pianetta,
and he didn't look great to nose. He didn't look bad. He didn't like Seferi was like a welterweight, and that's what it looked like, didn't it? And Pianetta was just a big guy who didn't really have much about him compared to his level. I thought that was too much too soon for him. He's going to get battered. So anyway, we can talk about it all. I got more respect for them two than I've ever had before. I mean, more respect for Usyk than you. How can you get more respect for him? But they gave the sport what they needed. I mean, like, the sport's like buzzing right now.
Absolutely. Final one on Fury Usyk. Kind of touched upon it a little bit. There was a final one, but this is now on. So we're not going to talk about anything else. We're going to do a Taylor Catterall prediction, and that's it. Where does Oleksandr Usyk stand for you, Andy? When you're talking the pantheon of all-time greats, where does Oleksandr Usyk sit with you?
It's always difficult, this, because comparing eras is basically impossible, but fun. So you should always give it a try. You just look at his resume, and he boxed for his first world title at 9-0, I think it was, and since then, Chaz with a spoon aside, which was just a getting to know you at heavyweight, which was supposed to be Carlos Takam, so that was the intention. So that shows you that he wasn't after a kind of easy first heavyweight
it's
fight.
Takam, then Spong.
But you look at you look at that run of fights, because they were all really good fighters that he ran into at cruiserweight, and the way that he's handled everybody and the way that he's done it, and the fact that he's always been away from home, and all those kinds of things. And as you said previously, it really does stand up. And he won an Olympic gold medal, which isn't professional boxing, but it's still an enormous achievement, and that's a unique treble. Nobody else has done that. Van Holyfield got a bronze, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He got disqualified
against Kevin Barry.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre story that we don't need to get into that. He has to be right up there. I mean, he's got to be. He's got to be top 10 heavyweight of all time off the back of all he's achieved. Top 5 probably. Well, I don't know. So comparing eras is really
It's
difficult.
hard, isn't it?
But he's proven that he is the best of his time. Yeah, it was close on Saturday, but I felt like he did win.
Yeah. Right now, that could change because Fury could put him in masterclass and he get 4 more fights.
Yeah.
But right now, he's the best heavyweight of his generation. I think that goes without saying.
Would you say he's the best fighter of his generation? Or kind of the cut-off date for here is kind of really Mayweather-Pacquiao, as in like their fight, because after that they weren't really there.
Yeah, but it's hard to say because we've had Roman Gonzalez and what he's done, and but because he's a heavyweight into the flagship division, they tend to get more credit for their wins, which I think when you're talking about all-time greats, I'm not sure if that should matter. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah,
because it has a bigger context outside of the sport, because the smaller guys don't get the same attention. So I'm not quite sure. He could. I'm not going to argue if you said he was, but I think that takes a longer, in-depth study. I think to get that, you got to pick a load of names and go right through them. I think so.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
One for a bonus episode.
For bonus episode in Los Angeles.
There we go.
In August. But I think that. But he's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. You have to. But I think again, what generation you're boxing in? This generation of heavyweights is nowhere near as strong as the 70s, or competitive.
Or the 90s.
Or the 90s, yes. Which is so. That makes it.
And being able to double up at cruiserweight and heavyweight is it's a relatively recent thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The creation of that division.
Yeah, and also you've had to take a bigger step out of the heavyweights because the biggest heavyweight was probably Lennox Lewis in the 90s. Yeah.
So if you think about like Holyfield, because like I was saying, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, and so like he's probably now going to be in that Holyfield bracket of like. You can sort of flip a coin on who's the greatest cruiserweight of all time. Again, somebody says Holyfield, somebody says Usyk. You can't really argue with either one of them. And I mean, the only thing that he's got over Holyfield is he hasn't been beat yet at heavyweight. Whereas Holyfield obviously didn't win all of his fights, but kind of prime Holyfield for getting the end of his career. But to be in that sort of breath, even to be in like the breath of like an Evander Holyfield,
can you imagine,
no, because and it also does put pay to the size argument that we all love to talk about, and it's the only division that we can be obsessed about size and height and weight and things. Not necessarily height, but like size and weight, because there's no limit to it.
I do feel that the heavyweights of the 90s and the 80s actually knew how to use their weight better than they do now.
Because it feels like
I don't know, and I can't go into depth into that.
I don't know what you're saying. So post Vladimir is kind of like it's been using your size, but more in a negative way, like the jab and hold. Neutralize with the size rather than use your size to fuck somebody up.
Using the reach, they were like their jabs are like ramrods.
Yeah, but they were also there to set for the right hand or the hook or whatever. You got like your bows and Lewis's and stuff like that. They weren't interested in just controlling you at distance and then tying you up. They're going to control you at distance, and if they can, they're going to let the shots go.
You can only fight who's in front of you, fight the rounds at a time, and he hasn't. No, he's not beating bums, is he? He's beating very good fighters.
Beat another Olympic gold medalist in Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, exactly. Anthony Joshua, you put Anthony Joshua in any era, and he's competitive to a point. You put Tyson Fury in any era because of his size and his mobility and his adaptability. He's a problem for anybody. Not saying he'll beat everybody, he's a problem for everybody. He's beating good fighters and with disadvantages. But then at one point you've got to shut up about the disadvantages, because we didn't drag on this debate about him being a cruiserweight when Evander Holyfield was fighting for world titles. We stopped it pretty quickly. Once he won a world title, that was it. He was a heavyweight. No more was said about naturally a smaller guy. He was just a heavyweight.
Yeah.
And you'd mention it now and again. I wasn't working in the media back then, but you'd mention it now and again. But I don't think it was a massive talking point. He's there now. There he is. Because Usyk looked massive. by the way.
Yeah, he didn't look.
He's
like
6'3.5". He's every inch of that.
But this is what everybody was always like. We were kind of talking about this before the fight, where people making out like Usyk's like 5'7". Like he was just going to go in there and try and.
Exactly. Like he's some kind of undersized fighter, and it's just like he's just a rock solid 220, and that's he's a physical specimen.
And a mobile.
Yeah,
that's it.
Whatever. He's worse to fight than a big, massive lump who can't move.
And I was comparing his weight with some other fighters from previous years, and Tyson, when he smashed through everyone in the 80s, was 215 to 220.
Yeah.
So it's been, it's not.
That was the big.
You're not 202 pounds.
There was a big talking point around Bridgerweight when the Bridgerweight division was discussed. Obviously, Wilder, Holyfield was another name that kind of popped up in there that was in and around that sort of weight. And it was like, well, why do you need this if these guys are doing it? And it's like, well, they can't compete with like the 270 guys. Well, we saw this weekend that they very much can. As my late great granddad told me, good sized middleweight can knock out anybody. So if you're a good sized middleweight and you can punch and you catch somebody right, they can go. And we saw that this weekend. The middleweight. Oleksandr Usyk. Okay, that's the end of the Fury Usyk 45 minutes that we were going to do.
It was never going to be 45.
No, of course it wasn't, man. Look, we'll do a bonus catch up with all of that stuff. But before we wrap things up, just run through some very, very top line highlights of the card. I don't know why I'm looking at this again. There's nothing on it. Jai Opetaia beating Mairis Briedis by decision. Mairis Briedis showing everybody that even at 39, he's still the hardest man in Latvia.
And still a force in that division.
Really is, yeah. Like I would not mind seeing him in another fight against another champion for sure.
Me too.
Also, I feel like it, maybe just showed everybody a little bit where Jai Opetaia is at, which is still at a very, very high level, but take the Zorro and
Briedis still dragged them down into the mud for a roll around. Didn't
he was in microcosm in the first fight.
I thought that was how I was going to stop Briedis, but I said that about his last two wins have been a level, but way below the level of Briedis. So you think you blasted through people. Yeah, but at the level, and you think you do at the level, but there again,
I think Opetaia knew that as well. I think because I think Opetaia didn't set off at the rate of knots he did in the first fight because of what happened in the second half of the fight. And I feel like he was wary, and it still almost happened. I
thought Briedis' desire wouldn't be there. I thought he was there for the payday. I did.
So did
the nose went in the sixth, didn't it? And then after that, you think, okay, is he going to unravel here? But the guy's made out of iron, isn't he? He's unbelievably tough.
But then when he headbutted, not on purpose, when he headbutted Opetaia, that gave him a lease of life, I think.
He knows all the tricks, man. He managed to hang in there.
He butted him, then he hurt him, didn't he, with a good shot. And then he really came to life.
But yeah, good fight.
Good fight.
Anthony Kakachi, the new IBF super-featherweight
we didn't see that one.
Champion of the world. Really impressive performance against Joe Cordina, it has to be said. I thought Cordina looked very sharp for the first couple of rounds, but he's been wary. He's been guilty, hasn't he, in the last couple of fights, really, of just holding his feet and standing there and having it with you. And
he did fight Kakachi's fight,
and Kakachi was really terrific. Punched. Like we've spoken about this.
Long levers,
I'm sure we've spoken about this in the past. Like, he really trained with Shane McGuigan. Shane McGuigan said he's pound for pound the hardest guy he's had. on the
Frampton. I spoke to Frampton about it during the week, and he said he did hundreds of rounds with Kakachi, and he said that he's never been hit harder by anybody.
Yeah,
and you could almost right on the apron. You could see it and feel it as well. I mean, every shot he threw, as we said to him, every shot he threw every shot was a power shot. He was fit as a fiddle. Every shot he threw was a heavy shot. So he hit Cordina on the break.
Just about to ask,
He was on the break. I mean, I think he was in motion. Yeah. He almost went to throw a right hand and he sort of like moved by the twist with the left hook. So the referee said break, but it's still, technically, it's after. I don't want to dig about it.
I don't think he could have stopped it.
He couldn't have stopped it. But the referee did say break. And then he's caught him, but it did have an effect on. We
all saw it. It did have.
No, but I'm saying, and I'm Welsh and all that, but
throw that into the mix.
Yeah.
But like it affected Joe. He did have a little like this.
Yeah. And then when he went to the corner, the referee said, "You ready to box?" He said, "Yeah," and maybe it would have been.
So there's a thing there that they can sort of go. That's the reason why he battered me, because I didn't recover. Because then literally straight after that, he hit with a good. It was left hand,
jumped on him straight off,
right on the middle, put his head back,
jumped straight on him,
and that knockdown was
how he survived that. He literally almost bounced off his head.
As good as Kakachi was, Cordina matched him in toughness, real tough kid. Like he went out swinging.
But there was no way he could really win after that. He's probably concussed it.
And even when he called Kakachi, just because he already hurt and tired, they weren't having the effect. And every time Kakachi hit him, you could see it.
Yeah.
What a window! He fought like a man who knew, I'm never getting a chance. I got this chance now. Too late in my life. He probably thought, if I don't win this, I'm done. No one's going
He's
to
had so much inactivity. I'm sure there would have been times when he felt like packing it in, but the fact that he didn't, and he's obviously always stayed in really good nick, because you look at the shape he's in, packing that into that weight division can't be easy. People talked about Joe being tight at the weight, and I went to the weigh-in on the Friday lunchtime because everybody who had to make weight weighed in on Friday lunchtime, not Friday night, and he was bang on it, 130 on the button. But I thought he looked all right, actually. Yeah, I thought he kind of looked okay.
Because they've been saying, the guys have been saying, like, cause I've been saying for ages, haven't I? He's super.
After the Edward Vasquez fight, we said
it's no good to super heavy for him, but the title defines him. But if he's made the weight, they will say, no, he's made the weight better this time than he has ever. Really,
but still, I mean, we're not going to get time to talk about it. Like Josh Taylor, like I heard all the stuff from him before and after the Teofimo Lopez fight. Never made 140 better, did it much better. S&C this time, but it's making the weight and then being able to perform it. You don't know until you're in there in 6, 7, 8.
But to be honest,
or when you get caught with a big shot by a puncher.
But to be honest, Kakashi was just punch perfect as well. Every shot with that power in. He very rarely missed with the shot. And more importantly,
was great.
He didn't let him off the hook once. So
kept
like
punching.
you know, and also, and I'm gutted for Cody, because he's a such a talented fighter, and I'm sure he can come back, and I hope he does. Like, I don't think that's the end of him, but I mean, these upsets are good for the sport.
Yeah,
I mean,
always.
It's the magic that he gives everyone on the way up. Like, it don't matter, I'm an underdog, and he wasn't an underdog, and he was a live underdog, but he wasn't an underdog. And just think, if Joe can perform the best he can perform, then Kakashi can't live with him. That was the truth. That's what I think we all felt that, even though we thought, no, he's a danger, not just with power, he can box. By the way. And also, I did say this is one of the first fights Joe's had at this weight, where he's got a guy at this weight, where he has a guy who has physical advantage over him. Like his size, and because his shoulders are like that, aren't they? Kakashi, he's like a coat hanger. But he was brilliant, like absolutely brilliant. And how can you not be happy for him? Like for the way his career's gone, it looked like he's not going to really get the opportunity. IBO title, but it doesn't carry any credence, to be honest. But no, he has a genuine title. And now he won't be avoided, and he might get the rematch for bigger money, and his life changes overnight from a stellar performance, and that's what it was.
Absolutely. You just wonder about Cordino. I had this conversation with somebody where it's like, Cordino's wanted the big fights. He wants to do Cardiff. He wants the big fights. And as he should. He's a 2-time world champion, and as he should want the big fights. Anto Kakachi is not thinking, I need a bigger fight than Joe Cordina. As you know, that's his World Cup final. That is quite literally his world title fight.
He's not fighting again, is he, after this?
Exactly.
So if I lose, I'm probably going to go.
He's looking at Joe Cordina like, you're the one I want to beat. Joe Cordina would be forgiven for thinking, I want to be fighting. Look at what they're doing. I want to fight stadiums. And, no matter how professional you are, there is always that.
But he didn't take... He knew he was in a fight.
Yeah, he certainly didn't overlook Kakachi, but there's...
Yeah, I just want to clear, we can't make that excuse for Joe, but his mind is somewhere else, maybe where he wants to go. But I think that frustration might have helped him.
And it's certainly not on the night. As you know, like some of those little almost subconscious stuff in camp, and
of course, it's true.
Run through a couple of other bits. Ajit Caballel, great win over Frank Sanchez.
So happy for him.
Really, I think he's him and Joseph Parker have been like the biggest beneficiaries of the Saudi experience, haven't they? And Mark Chamberlain, of course, who had another impressive win at the weekend. Am I missing anyone? Moses Atalma did what Moses Atalma does.
He was just a really good bill.
Kovalev's opponent was
Safar, wasn't
Safar did box really well. Kovalev, you're watching him, and I wouldn't say it saddened me because this is a cold business, and he's continuing because he wants to, presumably, but he's just not a cruiserweight.
No,
it's as simple as that.
No. And he looked like someone else boxing with a Kovalev mask on.
For the first 2 or 3 rounds, he looked incredibly rusty. To be fair to him, he did tough it out because I thought those middle rounds, I was thinking like...
He really did.
But also, Safar didn't have the confidence. He'll have it the next fight to put his foot on the gas. He had chances there. I think he could have got Kovalev out there.
With respect to him, obviously, I picked up a great win.
And actually,
that's not.
No, but it's a great win for him because it's not.
Fantastic was huge.
It's not Kovalev, but it's the name Kovalev,
and
he can.
It tees up a good fight for another card, which is him against David Nika, because Nika got the win, and he said at the press conference, "I want the winner of that fight." And the Saudis loved that idea of winner stays on, and I think.
And Nika didn't look great, did he?
No, he got hit way too much.
Easy to hit, but
too much.
But you see him in the past.
Really good fighter.
You see him in the past. He whips the punches in from range. It's just their leader because he didn't do it.
Very square on. Yeah, everything was square on.
I think it was an eagerness to try and knock someone out, and he actually ended up being
I think that was probably it. I think he maybe went in there a bit too concentrating too much on pleasing the crowd and being good to watch, because he just didn't seem bothered about getting hit at all.
Final one from the weekend, a massive win for another K2 fighter, another Ukrainian in Denis Berinchyk, picks up the WBO lightweight title. We've spoken about it here in the past. You know, he's waited his turn and then some in those WBO rankings, and finally got there against, I have to say, shocking Emmanuel Navarrete. Navarrete, that was, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to journeyman, but he boxed like a journeyman. He boxed like somebody who was tough, knew his way around the ring and experienced, but ultimately was never going to win. It was all of the physical advantages he had when he battered Isaac Dogboe at super bantamweight, and then even at featherweight. When you're at lightweight, you don't have those physical advantages. You're left with what's left with Navarrete, which is not great technique, doesn't do anything exceptionally well. All of those long uppercuts that he's able to catch you with at super featherweight and featherweight, you're not getting them because they're bigger. They see them coming. Like they can just take those half steps and.
Well, you're in range.
Yeah,
that's what he's not in range. It's mad. So you get it quite often with big punches, or especially erratic. He's an erratic puncher, isn't he? His rhythm's quite hard to read, but they get away with the technicals. The power masks your technicality. You're technically not that good. You don't shape up well, you don't do the conventional stuff, you haven't learned it or whatever, because you do things unorthodox, but you've got the power to get away with it. So you don't have to work on you forget to work on your skills, because when I hit them, they don't know where they are, so it doesn't matter.
Or he's just able to overwhelm you with volume.
Yeah.
And then you said, like the angles.
But that's slowed down as he moved up in weight, by the way.
But he is never, ever a lightweight. Ever. He needs to get back down to at least super featherweight. I don't think he's looked great at super featherweight either.
He hasn't.
Robson Conceição, I thought, beat him. Liam Wilson almost knocked him out. Like, without those physical advantages he had at 122 and 126, he's nowhere near a lightweight. Nowhere near.
Berinchy's a good fighter, but you didn't think.
I mean, for him to win a world title at lightweight at the minute, with how hot lightweight is. Imagine Cressy just sitting back there with his undisputed champion.
What a night.
Poor Lennox. But the thing is, though, we might get here now. Then, would this be the first Ukrainian unification match? Him and Lomachenko.
I can't think of another one.
No, I can't think of another one.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, can you?
He is interesting, Berinchyk, isn't he? Because, you know, we've all followed his career, but it's been stop-start. He hasn't boxed all that much. He is a big star in Ukraine, and he's kind of always stayed in Ukraine for his career. So he's probably on the day-to-day, if you like, a more familiar presence, and therefore maybe a bigger name in Ukraine than Lomachenko is. Mad though that might sound, they just kind of like, because he's been in it and stayed there. For sure, but he's been inactive. He won that WBO ranking belt forever ago, and then he's defended it however many times. And I remember I went and did one of his fights in late 2022, and I think he was fighting Isa Chaniev or something like that. 2021 it would have been, and again they got him out in front of a home crowd, and he pretty much sold the place out, and he loves a crazy ring walk, and he's a real character. Did Dancing with the Stars over there. Like I said, he's big news. But I felt like they were kind of hovering around, waiting to get him a fight for a vacant title at home, something like that, feeling like, with respect to him, that was what he would need to win a world title, because, you know, that division is so hot. That he was playing a clever game there, Alex. Then, of course, the war happens and he can't box at home. Yeah. And your chance comes and you've got to take it, and he took it. Well, I woke up the next day and I looked at my phone and saw that, and I just thought, oh wow.
Well, I spoke to Cressy a few weeks before, and so we'd spoken about it all, however long, with Berinchyk, about he was going to have to do that, and he was going to, like, vacant title, whatever. And I remember speaking to Alex and said, you know, Navarrete, like, he's not looked the same at super featherweight, you know, moving up. That's a winnable fight for Berinchyk. And in his very Alex Krasik way, he went, that's why we took it. Like, there we go. Yeah. You
they know what they're doing, those lads. They always have. I mean, there's no question. There's no question about that. You look at the ride they've been on with Usyk. It's. I mean, I know I think we both got the same line out of him for the Joshua week for the first fight, where Anthony had just signed his lifetime deal with Matchroom and DAZN and all the rest of it, and he's like, lifetime deal. 4 days.
Yeah.
He didn't mean that.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Like, for the rest of his career.
Yeah, career long
4
deal.
days.
Yeah.
But okay, right. Before we wrap things up, this is the preview section, which is going to last all of one prediction each. We haven't broken down the fight at all, which I'm not sure whether or not it's going to be a pro or a con when coming down to prediction. I'm quite sure a con. Jack Catterall versus Josh Taylor 2 this weekend, Andy. We've waited a while. It's now here. Bit of a breakdown of the fight and a prediction because we've run over. Here's the undisputed heavyweight title, Sam Jones, before you message me.
Yeah, I know I mean, I really like this fight. I'm all over it. And I know it probably should have happened sooner and all the rest of it, but I'm genuinely very, very interested in it. I think if we'd had longer to break it down, I would have just ended up going round and round in circles because I really don't know. I really don't. I don't know what Taylor's got left. Catterall, I think, has always been good. Underrated, but has always been good. And maybe he is just that guy for Josh Taylor. Maybe he's all wrong for him in every way. You know, temperament-wise, he can put Taylor in the wrong place temperamentally, and that makes a difference. And maybe stylistically too. I think we're looking at another. I think it's going to be close. Threaten to ignite, but not really. Be sort of tense and kind of absorbing because of the genuine feeling there. And we're going to have a scream up about the cards.
Yeah. I think it's really hard because you just don't know what you're going to get. Cause
no, you really don't.
The weights is a factor. I think with Josh Taylor, who's I think ultimately is a better fighter all round than Jack Catterall. Once he lost that zest that he had, he can't fight the same way. And I'm not sure if that's because of the weight or just the fights he's had. You can't keep that sort of intensity for your career, and he might have just tipped over the edge a bit. Still a good fighter, but might tip over the edge where he just can't be that force. He needs a fight. He's better in the middle of a battle. Like if you put him right in the middle of the fire, he thrives there. In the first fight, he tried to box a little bit tried to box his way in too much. He does box his way in, but he tried to box his way too much. Tried to beat the man with speed and movement, who's probably better at that facet of his game. And he didn't have that Taylor thing, because he's an angry man, isn't he? And he needs to fight like an angry man, because I think he thinks better when he's in. I think when bullets are flying past him, I think he fights better in chaos than he does out of range. You see him get caught and hurt, out the distance. But when he gets hurt when he's in close, he battles forward through it. It's different because he's in his zone. But then when you lose that little bit, you lose that little 5% or whatever, you can't do that anymore. And fighters who box that way, you see an obvious decline. They're nowhere near as fighter they were. I'm not quite sure he's fully there, but I think he's heading towards that. And the weight. He couldn't make the weight like before the Catterall fight. Now he's still, and he couldn't make the weight for the Catterall fight. He couldn't make the weight after it, and he's still making the weight. But I think it's a struggle, and it's too much of a struggle. And he should have, and he made an excuse for the weight for that fight, and that probably was the right excuse. He should have moved up, but he's not.
Even this, it's no title. Do 143 or something.
Well, what the fuck's that all about? Isn't it? Maybe it's madness. Well, that's good management on the side of the Catterall's team. But either way, I think that's going to be a factor. I still can't pick a winner. I mean, we have to, I suppose, don't we? But I mean, I'm still like that.
Andy didn't.
No, but I genuinely...
Not even working a fight either.
Well, I'm working the fight.
I'm
going to do an Andy Clarke. Well, I'm working the fight, so I can't really pick a winner.
I will.
No, I'm not. I pick my winner. But I'm not. I genuinely don't have a clue, because I just don't know what we're going to see from both of them. And I think Catterall as well, that might have been his one great performance. Because he's looked really good throughout his career, but he's always been like, there's more there and you haven't shown it. And I think he showed us in that fight, but I'm not sure whether. But then he hasn't built on it, by the way. The Dara Foley fight, he boxed really well. And I got Linares, he boxed very well, but he hadn't. That fight didn't click a switch for him. Sometimes a fight has a good result. He didn't get the win, but he boxed at the highest level, and he should have got the win, as we all thought. You think that would be the switch to go, I need to do this now. I know what I have to do now because I'm at that level. And that belief in your confidence. And I don't think he boxed that against Linares. He boxed the right fight to win, sensible, but he didn't sell himself. Didn't do what he could have been more assertive and take more risks. With that, there's a chance you get caught, and that's good boxing brain. But he needs to do more, and I don't know whether he can do that. And that's a habit how you fight. But I thought he broke that habit with the Taylor fight. Even though he did sit back on his shots at points, he got plenty of bottle, and he showed he was a puncher in that fight. Let's not forget that. And so I'm not sure whether he can perform that way again. On that basis, you pick Taylor. But then I think Taylor's lost a step, and I can't have the intensity that he used to fight that. and he can't be as effective in the fire like he used to be. So on that basis, you would pick Catterall.
Who are you picking, Barry?
Fucking hell, I don't know. I've lost myself. Who's fighting again? I'm edging towards Catterall just because of that alone. But I'm literally like, I haven't got a fucking clue what we're going to expect from either one of them. That's what I'm not. That's why I'm really perplexed. Sometimes you go, well, Usyk can do this, so, and he probably will do this because he does the same all the time. So whether it be effective is one thing, but because he does that, you can give an assessment. I just don't know what one of them can show in this fight more than they did the last time, or if they can show what they did the last time. I don't think they have to show more. They can show the same. I don't think Taylor has the same, but Taylor didn't box the right fight in that one. So you think there'd be growth to do it right, but at this stage of his career, I don't think it's in him anymore. So I know. So again, yeah. So from all that talking, mumbling bollocks I just did, I'm gonna say Catterall. No, weird because Taylor's been my favourite fighter from the UK. Out of the last 10 years, he's been my favourite fighter from the UK. The way he went through that division was just brilliant. Like, and also the way the McGuigans managed him to a world title was how you should for a talent of his ability. How you should manage him, taking the right risks at the right time. And they were risks, but the right ones. You might have lost them, but they're the right ones to take if you thought he was going to get there, and he got there. But every fight was a battle up there, so that all those take it out of you, I think, and rightly so. So they should. To get the level, you should have wear and tear when you get to the highest level, but I think he might have that. So he's still a good fighter, but I don't think he has the same intensity. You got to stop me talking. I'm just.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I got to get home.
I was going to say, it's your time.
No, I got to get home.
I'll say Taylor.
Okay. I agree with everything that both of you have said, and I think it is a fight that is very much on the knife edge.
It's hard to read, isn't it?
Yeah. I've always felt like the toughest fights for Josh Taylor are people like Jack Catterall, Victor Postol, where they can be patient and they can make you make the first move. And before the first Taylor-Catterall fight, I picked Taylor to win. But I felt like Taylor would have to come from behind, and I expected Catterall to do what he did, which is wait. And when Taylor launches into shots, time him on the way in, and that's what he did. And I think look, you mentioned there about kind of Taylor not quite having that same edge and that same chip on his shoulder. I think part of that is becoming undisputed champion. Josh Taylor, for as long as I've been covering his career and speaking to him and interviewing him and what have you, always spoke about being the undisputed champion. Didn't want to become world champion, wanted to become undisputed champion. He said he used to write it down on his paper when he was at school. Josh Taylor, undisputed champion. He used to talk all the time about being the undisputed champion.
It's really
Ken
interesting,
Buchanan. And I remember...
It's really interesting to talk to fighters about what happens to them when they achieve that thing they've always been aiming for, because...
Because what's then what?
Yeah, that's
what
it.
drives you then? And the thing with Taylor, in that period of time where he was boxing, he boxed Dave Ryan, I think in his 7th fight.
I went for that.
Commonwealth title. Harry Davis, Miguel Vasquez, Victor Postol, these are good names on the way up. And what I always felt like what drove Taylor was that insecurity about, am I the best? Can I do it? He thinks I'm better. Like, I watched him, remind me saying, I watched him storm out of pad sessions because he gets pad combination wrong, and like very in his own head, like perfectionist, like elite sort of mentality, but with a lot of fragility to it. And I always wondered what would happen if and when he became undisputed champion. And I think the performances since then have been fairly telling for that. And Taylor is somebody who needs that. And he's got it in this fight. Yeah. But the difference is when the bell goes, it's going to be that. And Catterall's got him, but he's going to be here when the fight happens. And I felt like a lot of... I mean, Taylor will always talk. I'm sure he would talk if somebody asked him about it. What his most important fight was the Victor Postol fight. Because Postol... sort of mini Klitschko, just in the middle of the ring, wait, and then when Taylor launched, half step back and boop, half step back, boop.
It was a harder fight than the Berinchyk.
Yeah, massively, and that's sort of what made him. We always talk about that being a huge fight for him, and it's because of that patience and that confidence that when you go, I'm gonna time you, I'm gonna get you. That has me leaning towards Catterall. I think Catterall against Linares boxed that fight like he didn't want to get stopped. And yeah, he was stylish, but it wasn't the, you think of Linares, you think flair, combinations coming forward, risking himself. And he didn't quite do that against Catterall. And Catterall's never going to be the type of fighter to chase you down and break you down. So it was always going to kind of be that way. Darragh Foley, with respect to him, is not at the same level as the other guys. So I think Catterall we've all covered him throughout the start of his career and all known what a great talent he was, and always kind of felt he could do more, like you've said, and kind of he drifts through fights. He hurt you with a left hand, Tyron McKenna. Hurt you with a left hand, and then he just sort of like give you a few rounds.
I've always said with Catterall, early in his career, he fell victim of wanting to look good rather than be good.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it is in there, and I feel like stylistically, before the first fight, I felt like the fight favoured Catterall. Everything that we saw in those 12 rounds, made that true. It definitely stylistically. So I know Taylor didn't necessarily box the right fight. He was very upright and trying to land the left hand. Like Taylor's shot is the right hook.
To be fair, I couldn't see how Catterall would win the first fight. I'll be honest. I
felt like he would give him some problems. I thought Taylor would win.
Yeah, I thought Taylor would just, in the end, he wouldn't fall for the feint and then leaning back. He would just go and force Catterall to have a war with him, and then he's not going to win a war with Taylor. That's what I thought, but I was totally wrong.
I think, like, for Taylor, the right hook is essential in this fight. Where Catterall's leaning back and sort of leaning away, the right hook to the body's there. Right hook to the body, right hook to the head. Didn't get that shot off at all in the first fight. So I just wonder whether or not... And look, Taylor's not boxed since Teofimo Lopez, and that was a hard fight. Again, another fight where he made the weight, and another fight where he faded in the second half of the fight. It was more the speed of Lopez, but again, some of the stuff Lopez does is similar in a way to Catterall in the sense of, like, he's a counter puncher, will make you fall in, and then counter. So... yeah, I do lean towards Catterall, and like you, not that it matters because I would hope at this, I don't care, but like Taylor throughout his whole career has been somebody that we've all admired, the way he's done things. It's been a very, and he'll love me saying this, has been a very un-British way of going about things. Well,
it's been an old. Yeah, you've had like almost like back in the day when the world title was generally you being the best fighter. He's done it the old-fashioned way, hasn't he? And he's done it, and he won the world title like the McGuigan did, with Barry did, who obviously was his manager at the time. The fight before the world title was harder than the world title shot itself, because and that was like the stamp on he's ready. And most people don't take that risk with their fighter, because why would you? You just go the route of an organisation and just get their international titles. Well, I would do that. I think I did do that. And then you get an easier route. Even though it's difficult at its own stage, but nowhere near as difficult as he did it. He took too many risks, and that's it. I know you look at back at all of those fights. For every great win, like the Regis Prograis fight was a hard fight. Yeah, like, at the end of that fight, his eye was in a real bad state. He got hurt in the Berinchyk fight.
The Berinchyk fight was a really hard fight. I feel like Taylor did Berinchyk, and then when Berinchyk afterwards started getting knocked over by everybody and stuff, I feel like that was what took it out of Berinchyk. Even like the Jose Ramirez fight, I think he won that clear, but it was still a physically taxing fight. Then he had COVID, was out of the ring, and he put a lot of weight on.
Had an easy knockover, didn't he?
Yeah, he boxed
Thai fighter.
Yeah, what's his name?
Can't remember now.
Kong Song, Apinon Kong Song.
Body shot win in the first round.
In the first round. But like, but you think about like since then. So the Catterall fight, he was very flat in that performance. Very flat. Lopez, like he had a lot of time out of the ring and then boxed Lopez. Again, made the weight well.
He wasn't bad in the Lopez fight, but the fading was an issue.
Yeah, and after 4 rounds, that fight was only going one way.
Yeah, of course it was,
but even in that last 2 or 3 rounds, he was taking big shots. Yeah. Like they're not, Lopez can punch. Like, so
maybe if when he beat Ramirez to become undisputed, maybe if at that point, you get this enormous cash bonus for becoming undisputed, and you feel like you don't really need to make any more money. His ambition's satisfied. Maybe he'd have retired. But boxing being the way it is, you make the money when you're the champion.
I think it's the other way. Sorry, Greg. I think for Taylor as well. Taylor, I don't think is motivated by the money. I think
no, but if it's there to be made,
sure, of course.
I think it's different. I think he was never motivated by the money, but once he got to that level, then it becomes about the money.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then you can't fight with the same anger.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the intensity and the ferociousness of him. The intensity and the ferociousness of him. I feel like that was born out of I want to be undisputed champion. I want to follow the great Ken Buchanan. He wanted to do all of that. He's still
need to prove yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's that insecurity of him that always made him tick, and that always gave him that thing. Like after you're the undisputed champion, okay, that's gone. Okay, the motivations do change. You want to be a 2-weight world champion, or you want to be a this, and you can make lots of money. That ticking, that internal thing of him that I don't think we've seen since the Ramirez fight.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and if it's not there anymore, it's not there anymore, is it? That is something that happens to people.
But having said that, I do expect it to be a very close fight.
He's still a good fighter. That's
of course.
But we're talking about how good he was.
But more than anything, I think like for this fight, And for the first fight, I think the style of Catterall is a problem for Josh Taylor. I do feel like that style for him is not...
In and out the feet and sitting on the back foot.
Yeah, just waiting,
make him overreach for shots, isn't he? Yeah. And also the fact that he's a southpaw, so then your jab is further away than it would be if he was orthodox. You know what I mean? Because your jab would be going to be right here, where you got to go an extra step for your jab. Because Catterall sits back, makes it more difficult to reach. So but it's in him to win it. If he can regain his... If Taylor is very best and Catterall is very best, that's a Taylor fight.
Yeah. I agree. I agree, but I'm not sure that either man really... I don't know. I don't think there has been too many signs of slippage in Jack Catterall. I do feel like there has been in Josh Taylor, but I do feel like Josh Taylor was the better fighter, so it's brought them to where they're at. But yeah, it's more the style than anything. I do agree with you as well. I think we may be in for some chicanery.
I do think the fact that Taylor genuinely does. They mutually loathe each other, but I think the fact that he really, really doesn't like Catterall will help. Whether it'll get him back up towards that level he used to be at. But I've not really thought too much about mentally where he might have gone once he'd achieved that enormous
and certainly don't think that he's
of becoming
walking around
undisputed.
Thinking that. I just think
I think that I wouldn't claim to know him really well, but that does make sense to me. That edge of, you know, kind of, I'm going to prove you all wrong, really, really worked for him. And then when it's kind of like, you don't need to prove anybody wrong anymore, we all think you're amazing, it's kind of like, oh, it just doesn't...
he might not know it, by the way.
That's what I meant. Like, I don't think he's walking around thinking, well, you know, I've done everything I needed to do.
Richie Willis says when he won the world's title, he sort of goes... But I bet you that he didn't realise at the time, when he looks back and he goes, actually, thinking about it, I didn't do things the same. I thought it was. You know, you go to the gym and train hard, but there's a mental intensity different though you train. You're not. It is. You just can't, and you can't replicate. You can't get it back. You can't replicate it. Maybe you can for certain things. By the way, hatred for a certain person or an anger for, because I think Taylor's needs to be angry.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
I think he needs to be angry. Angry is better. I've always loved him for that. I mean, not as a person. I don't know him well enough to be as a person. I don't know him at all really. Just say hello to, but he's always my favourite fighter because he didn't hide who he was. And the way he fought, just the way he did it, cause he's technically very good, by the way. He boxes away, he never just runs in. But once he's there, he's brilliant inside. That 3/4 range inside, he's fantastic. He thrives in that. The more pressure, the more punches he takes, he's better for it. He doesn't take loads, but, I mean, he gets hurt almost every fight, I think. But getting hurt from range, getting hurt in close, he's better in close.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he fires back. His first instinct is to fire back, and you can't teach that. But if you lose that instinct, and that's what makes you good, what do you do?
And it's also treading and harnessing that so you're not too reckless and you're not showing what you're doing before you're doing it, because then you get timed on the way in. It's getting that kind of angry Scottish bastard and trying to harness him and keep him on the, no, don't do that. This is what we need to do. Keep the intensity.
You can't pretend that. You can't go through the motions. No. If you go through it, you're just a little bit slower. Your action's not quite as quick as you have. If you have to think to do it, then that's slow enough for someone to counter you, and that's the difference. But I'm saying that he might have it in him. I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. In this fight, I genuinely don't know what version of either one's going to turn up, because it's been a long time since that fight. It was that Catterall's one big performance in him, and some people get just one big performance in their career. Some get loads, some don't get any. You know, it is how it is. And I had mine as an amateur. I think, to be honest, my one great performance. I remember it well. But I think I did. You know what I mean? And I don't think, even though I boxed well, I don't think I ever got quite that performance ever again, where nothing went wrong, everything went right. I couldn't have done no more, sort of thing. Not just done no more on that night, no more ever. That was it. That was me at my best, and that might have been him. Maybe it's not. Maybe this is just the start of him. I don't have a fucking clue. But the fact that he hasn't really looked that good since would tend to say maybe that was. But then those fights haven't been at the same level, and the same with Taylor. Boxing at super lightweight again it just seems like a real mistake. Especially now a couple of years on as well. He can't be making the weight any better.
No.
And if he makes the weight, maybe more controlled and sensible, it's still going to affect his performance in the ring.
Well, that's what he said again. We mentioned earlier about the Teofimo Lopez fight. Like before the fight, he said, it's the best I've made it. And then afterwards, he said, it's the best I've made the weight. He's like, but something was missing. He's like, I didn't think, afterwards, I felt good in the ring, and then all of a sudden, the energy went. I think that was partly the body shots from Teofimo Lopez, but also like that doesn't help. Again, like you're 140. Don't fight at Garcia weight, man. 143. 143. There you go. Fight Garcia. They used to have Canelo weight, didn't they? 155. But yeah, okay. So yeah, we're edging to Catterall. Taylor. Like contrarian Clarke.
You've just said that.
I just think he'll dig it out.
Yeah.
Like he'll get a bit of anger, a bit of fire. It will be difficult, but he'll get it done.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very close fight, I think. And I certainly would not be surprised.
Judges get suspended in this fight.
Score it live on the Boxing News app. There we go. We get Ian John Lewis on there for the guest scorer. That's a good idea, actually. We'll definitely try and do that. But that's all we have time for today. Apologies for not dedicating more time to several of the other shows that we've missed over the last few weeks. But from us here on the Boxing Show, from Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clarke, thank you very much for joining us for our undisputed edition of the show today. Let us know in the comments who you think will win, Josh Taylor or Jack Catterall, and we will catch up with you maybe next week.